No, I don't have headphones on, but this has not been an issue. Hang on. How about now?
Uh, yeah, I'm sure without headphones on, if you have any type of speakers, it's gonna be
It's weird
echoing
because
over.
hang on. Let me get my headphones. I know I have them. Hang on.
Standing in different positions of the planetarium.
No, they would absolutely, because the thing is, what you're looking at is a representation of the night sky from one geographical point that is fed into that projector. Okay, so in other words, if I go down here to the JMU, to the James
Hello.
Madison University in Harrisonburg, and I go in their planetarium,
Learn how
they
to
can
work this
set that
mic
thing to
thing. Hello,
be
conspiracy music.
what the sky looks
Hello,
like from
mystery.
the James Madison University right at that point in time, right? And you're going to see an exact representation from as what you see outside. Absolutely.
Hello. This
Puppy
is
Mummy,
Zerzeus from the
hello.
past, thinking about Zerzeus from the past. You know, of course, I didn't have
Thanks.
any of this ready when I was talking to Sovereign Soul and J Mind. But let's just say that this here is our planetarium. Now, interesting, most planetariums are round and dome-shaped. Now, I was trying to describe to Sovereign Soul and J Mind that if you were to pick out a star, such as this one, and you were to have people that were in different positions of the planetarium, that they would not get the same directions, they wouldn't get the same sextant readings as everybody in the planetarium. And that would be explained by them all looking in different directions.
Hello, Mr. B.
It's very simple. Now, this could easily be explained away by they're thousands of miles apart, but they're not. They're all in the same planetarium.
Perfectly the same. And so even if you are there, right there from that, yes, in the center of the room, it's going to be the same thing. So if I were to set an azimuth or take a reading, yeah, great. Now we want to see what's it like in Hillsborough, North Carolina.
And you can do this with a sextant.
Sure, why couldn't you? You're just all you're doing is looking at the angles of the apparent angles of lights in the sky. Those apparent angles are being accurately represented, just scaled.
Well, I can't, so my guess is
I love
that
it. Pretty
I'd like
good.
to see you repeat that.
I mean, why wouldn't you be? I mean, do you have to know the distance to any of the stars that you use with a sextant right now?
Well, you'd have to know how to use a sextant, and I
Well,
don't know how
okay,
to
but
use
I
a
mean, would it
sextant, so
is the distance to these stars necessary in a
Yes,
sextant
it is.
calculation?
I don't understand how these people are so fucking retarded, Sav. You need a triangulation. It's called triangulation. You need at least two angles, two distances
a
to
position,
fucking
yes.
triangulate how far it is.
Yes,
How are
a
you fucking so
position.
retarded? You with one line, you can't fucking figure out how far something is away.
A
It's like common
position.
sense.
All
It's
you would need is a position of like Polaris
Mhm.
to Cygnus. You would
Mhm.
not
yeah,
need
yeah, and you
to
don't
know
know
their
that
Right.
you
weight.
don't know that length. So
You don't.
you're
All
So,
you
short
have to know
one
is
so
length.
what you're
all you need are your angles between these points, right?
right.
The
The sailors just
distances,
use
the
visual
distances.
references.
Hold on, the distances are not are irrelevant. All you're calculating is the relative angle between these different celestial bodies and you. That's
Right.
all. Okay.
Right. How
Well,
far apart they look to you.
if I represent those on a dome ceiling scaled so that it's exactly the same as it is outside, and that their angular distance from one another are exactly the same as what you see outside, yes, your measurements will come to the same, exactly the same.
Well, but it's also going to change if your distance apart is different too. If your one length is different lengths, it's going to be a different distance. Like I don't understand
So now
how
you have a good hypothesis. Okay, I gotta interrupt one more time, but this is just to kind of like bust my balls a little bit. Hypothesis? Now I will admit, I made a couple
What's the
mistakes.
hypothesis?
I ended up at one time saying that you can't prove the round Earth, that they were unable to.
Yeah, I don't
The
know. I
funny
keep
thing
repeating
is,
it too.
Sovereign Soul missed it. He was so busy saying no ball. Instead of catching me and saying, hey, you just said that they can't prove that the earth is round. He rambled on about how I was wrong. Okay, I guess they can prove that the earth is round.
I don't like your hypothesis on this.
We're
I
missing
just
the
don't understand how
experimentation part.
retarded people are. Like like trigonometry, you need two
There
angles
you
to
go.
figure out
Smoke
of
that
distance.
bowl.
You need two angles. On Earth, we can't figure out. You can't figure out the distance to a star. It's impossible.
I mean, I have no
If you only have
problem with people
one
saying
length, the
right,
big,
but you know,
like well, like you can't figure out a
try
fucking
to
distance.
think, you know, maybe
I
take
didn't
only
say that I
one
knew a
minute distance to a star, but okay.
So what I'm getting at is this: is that all we know is that these lights are fixed in the sky at in a certain pattern. They
How are they,
do
how are
go
they fixed?
around the Earth. They seem to go just slightly faster than the sun, so that every 28 days they lap our sun, and we come into a new star house, a star sign. And the sun is going just slightly faster than the moon, so that every 28 days we have a month or a moon cycle. This thing's a perfect clock.
Well, I spent
It's an
4
absolute
hours
perfect
on
clock.
Saab. I'm
But
sure if
as
I
far
played
as
all
the
4
as the
hours of
stars
it
are
today,
concerned, outside of
then
the
it
what they
would be
call
a 12-hour
planets,
stream with
these
Jerry.
stars are fixed.
I mean,
Okay,
I'm
and
sure
so
I
we
I'd
mean-
can
kick
use
him.
them
I'm
for
sure I'd kick him
navigation.
by
Now,
then, but you know.
the only thing that is necessary
I
for
can do
that is
12 hours if he
knowing
wants
where
me
the
to.
star is in
I really
relative
can.
position to a point on Earth. The distance
That's right,
doesn't
Danny.
matter. Not at all. You don't ever see any parallax between any of those stars from
Parallax?
these distances.
Isn't that a super
Okay, they just all we see is that we
He
know that
doesn't
if this is
understand
at
what
this angle and
parallax
this is at
is.
that angle, that puts us at this point on the Earth,
Isn't that the Green Lantern's enemy?
which of course is only able to be
It's
done
the amount of time
with
a star
a
takes to
flat-faced
transition
plane
another
measurement.
star, and that helps you tell the distance. Well, I wasn't arguing around or flat, but you know, you mentioned that helps you.
Just thought I'd throw that in.
Aside from that works. Aside from the
Take another
the
hit.
moving other lights, we'll call them
Go ahead, take a hit
planets,
from your
since that's
palm.
what they're
Do it.
referred to.
Do
I
it
think
right
maybe
now.
later today,
But
I'll be
the
releasing a
other
video.
moving
I
lights
might
that do
have it
move
done
through the
by
night
end of
sky,
day,
unlike
or,
the lights that don't move through the night
I
sky.
explained
Wandering
there
star.
there has to be a reason why that is.
Of the
And
object
one
in the
one
water,
explanation that I know
where
of
the
is that
last
they're much
time I
closer than
explained it,
the
I did clearly
not
explain that there is a
wandering
second
lights
part
that
of
are
this
out
where the
there,
weight
and
in the water
you know, in a way that
seems
makes
different,
sense if
but
you
it's an
take
apparent
a
change, and I can
jet
explain that.
and you
And I
watch it
did
at
explain that.
its
but we
highest
never really
altitude where
got
it's a
to
little
that,
bitty tiny speck.
you know.
It's barely
Z.
moving across the sky when another plane that's like, let's
Hey.
say, a prop plane
hmm
is going much slower
could you
than
pause
that
it for a
jet
second, Z?
and moves across the sky much quicker off onto the. So it would
It's closer to you.
kind of make
I started restreaming. I started restreaming on my thing real quick. Is this a debate on flat Earth, or is this just a debate on how to calculate how far things are from our Earth?
Well, I came up to challenge his knowledge on science because his show was titled "When Pseudoscience Becomes Reality," and
Oh my God.
I guess if you're going to say that you can tell what pseudoscience is, then you most certainly should have science of your own to back up what you're saying, that theirs is pseudoscience. You can't just point at the science and say it's pseudoscience. You have to have science to show that it's pseudoscience.
Yeah, I don't see. Like, I heard him talking about, like, oh, you can put the equation into a computer and it's still your answer or whatever. It's like,
Well,
he-
yeah.
like he.
I mean, it doesn't take long for you to realize. So if we have, like, let's say a ball and we put, you know, polka dots all over it, and there's a dude inside of it that's, you know, so tall, and we blow that ball up, those polka dots are going to spread out over a much
greater distance, the larger the ball gets. And the smaller the ball gets, the closer and closer and closer those polka dots will be. Now, he says that scaling, you can scale without scaling me. And my argument here is that I believe it's somewhere around here, is that if you scale down reality without scaling me down, you run into big problems. And one of those would be great examples. He did mention the movie set. So if we scale down the movie set, but we forget to scale down the actor, me, you're going to end up with a big dude in a tiny little movie set.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just his entire logic is completely failed.
He wants. It's like he wants his pseudo reality to be reality. It's like he wants his science to work, but he doesn't. He wants to discredit the real science where people actually did the work.
Right.
It's weird. That's
But it's
weird.
like, this is like 2 hours, so I'm trying not to like pause it a whole bunch.
I'm sorry. You know what? Because I started restreaming it, and I saw a couple of my people come in, and I was like, I'm only restreaming it because I always find like these things interesting. You know, like I find the arguments that you have with these people interesting, and sometimes like I just want to have a record for myself.
Oh yeah, you're fine. Anybody is welcome to anything I make. I mean, even if you want to take it apart and make fun of me, careful if you take it apart and make fun of me, because I might
would
come
never do
around
that.
and slap you around a little bit.
No, you would beat me up. I would never do that.
Makes sense that they're closer to us than those further light objects.
Well, we don't ever see them parallax between each other like that.
Well, and just
I'm
think
going
about
to
the
step
numbers
out
they
for a
give
quick
us. The
cigarette.
numbers they give us are fucking
Do
insane.
your thing.
I don't know if the numbers they give us are right. I know it's far away. I'm pretty
274,000
confident
light
in how
years.
bad
Like,
I'm
just take
kicking
one of
ass
the
here.
numbers, the closest star, and actually mathematically, like, map it out and think about how far that is. Our closest star, let alone like the second closest star, the third. Like, they're numbers you can't even fucking fathom. Like, it's fucking insane. Like, it's like the closest star we could never fathom,
But he
even
agrees
going
that
there,
there's numbers.
unless they have like warp fucking speed fucking quantum fucking wormholes. Like, yeah, it's insane. It's
You see,
totally,
now that's the planetary movements, the wandering star movements projected over the flat Earth.
Wow,
Isn't
that's
that
neat. So I got
wild?
to ask you a question. Do you see where it makes loop-de-loos up there near the? What causes that motion?
You know,
Everything.
the only
I
thing,
think everything
I
should
don't.
stay in the same motion. I don't understand what would cause it to make that
think it-
strange
I have
loop.
a theory. I have a
think
theory.
about a
I
clock.
think it's actually. I think based on the pattern that I'm seeing, right there, and based on what I've seen of electromagnetic waves, you can do them with ferrofluid. You put some ferrofluid between two slides, and then when you put a magnet to it, with light, you put light around it, like LEDs, and it will show you the magnetic waves. They light up. It actually literally bends the light. And they have that same type of a look to them. That's my guess. That's my theory. That's the direction I'm going.
Well, but
Do I
those are
know?
only so
Do
far.
I know?
We're only at
No, I
partial
don't.
sciences, though. I mean, this is so far a show about pseudosciences, and
Right.
we haven't had any experimentation shown that describes any of this to be anything other than just some guy's
Thank you,
idea
Danny.
on the internet.
What are you talking about? I don't get what you're
Your
talking about.
idea. You just said it was your idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there has to
Yeah,
be
you
a
asked me.
provable
Hold on. Wait a second.
experiment
Wait a
for
second.
it
Wait
to
a
be
second. Wait a second.
science of any
Hold on.
type.
Hold the phone a second there, Zerzuz.
Oh, hold on.
I
you're
never
making too much logic.
claimed to know what causes the motion of the wandering stars, or what you call planets. I never
But
claimed
You
to
just
know
said you
that.
had a theory
Okay?
on it.
I didn't make a claim about them. Okay? I showed you the pattern that they make as they traverse the flat Earth. Now, I've got another one. I'll have to find it, that has them all broke down, each one of them. what they look like. Okay. Now, as far as what causes that, I don't fucking know. Neither do you. Nobody does. But it does really, really look the same as an electromagnetic pattern, like you see
Does it?
with electromagnetics through ferrofluid.
How
Now,
can you
is
know?
that mean that's what's going on? No, I don't know. And I don't know how I would begin to even test such a thing.
The
Okay.
pseudoscientists that we're talking about, though,
Mhm.
do have an explanation for it and
That's
do have
what.
ways of testing it in
Oh,
which
do they? Do they?
you
Okay, so then let's
It's
go back
just
to the
their
gravity.
idea.
Let's go
It's
back to
just a
gravity
man's
then.
idea.
I mean, we'll start right at the
Oh, is
basic,
it?
the crux of what holds their whole fucking bullshit together, and that's gravity. Okay? Where's that? Where's
Where's
the
that?
science
Oh.
in that?
Where's the science?
And then we're
Where is-
going to ascribe it to other things that we don't know anything about. As we just demonstrated, we don't know anything about it.
You don't know anything about
well,
gravity?
I know that the ball earthers have a mappity that you can follow.
They have a map?
A mappity, yeah. They have a
No, they
mappity that
don't.
you,
No, they don't.
you can follow.
No,
that
No, they
mappity.
don't.
do.
No, they don't.
Of course they do. I
No,
would have
they
to
don't.
use it. to
No,
go
they
to your
don't. No,
house.
you
If
don't want to know
gave me
why?
your address-
Show it to me then. Show it to me. Let me see it.
Well, it's simple. All you have to do is give me your address and enough money to make it to your house. And with my mappity given to me by the weird, stupid flat earther or round earthers,
Okay,
I will
where is
take it
this map?
exactly to your house.
You mean you just can't name the map or
Mappity
show it to
bappity.
me? Are you going to say that the
I would be
globe?
able to
Hold
use
on, wait.
just
Are you
about any
claiming?
map capable of giving me directions?
Right. So show me
Any
an
mappity.
accurate. Show me any accurate
You're
world
just
map.
gonna wave it off.
Any
Even
one
if it
that I
was
could
accurate, you're
use
just
to
gonna
get
wave it off.
directions to any location, such
Mhm.
as a mystery
Nice
location,
dodge.
such
Nice
as your
dodge.
house.
So,
It's not
okay,
a
so
dodge.
then, all
It's
right.
a
So
direct.
Rand
If I
McNally.
don't know how to get somewhere, hold on.
Wait
If
a
I
second.
don't
So
know how
you
to
would.
get
Wait a
somewhere, I use
second.
a
What
mappity.
world map?
If I
what-
don't use, if I use a mappity to
Okay.
get to
What
the
the hell's
place,
a mappity?
exactly a
I've never
mappity.
heard of
It's
the
that
word
thing.
mappity.
You know, it's kind of like droppity, but
Right.
it's a mappity. So
Okay.
Oh,
So
so it's
which?
like
if I use a
stupidity?
mappity and I go
A
and I need to go
stupidity?
somewhere that I don't know where it is, all I have is some numbers on a page
Mhm.
telling me the street and some letters on a page telling me the state and city. I can use any mappity that is a stupid globe earth mappity to get from that place, from my place to that place.
Okay.
There's one
Let me
map
let
that
me
I
ask you.
cannot use.
Hold
There's
on.
one map
They're
that
losing
I
their
dig
cannot
where
minds
you're
use
over
coming from.
whatsoever is the
There's
AE
this.
map.
There's
I
it.
cannot use
There's
it to get any location anywhere specifically on the earth.
Okay. Which world map
Yeah, Dreamy
Do
got
you
stuck on
use-
Mappity.
to navigate?
Pick one. You can use
Hey, well,
It's a
no,
map.
I'm not the
Atlas,
one.
or
I'm
you
not the
can
one.
use
Wait,
Google,
wait.
or you can
You're the one
use,
that claims.
or you
You're
can
the one
use
that claims.
Bing.
You're
I
the
can
one that
use
claims
any
you have.
mappity that
You
they
just said that you
claim
had
is
an accurate world map. You
Yes.
just said you had an accurate world map. Show it
I
to me.
just named a bunch of them.
Which
Now you heard me name 3, right?
Yeah.
Google and Bing and an Atlas, or
That's
maybe
an accurate. That's
or
an accurate.
maybe
that's-
even.
Wait a second. You're really.
You know, she
You're-
does ask a question repeatedly, and that question, I haven't really been putting a lot of weight on that question, but that question is funny because it's not. She tries to say it like she has a good experiment for me, and she asked me a question about a dam, and I believe I'll be, when I do the video where I apologize to not giving Sub enough weight on his question, I'll also answer her question about the dam. But the simple answer is science.
The mappity dappity do.
Mathity. That
No.
mathity
It's
thing.
it's
Yeah,
a
I heard the
mappity.
mappity, yeah.
It's a mappity.
But the mathity thing really messes them up too.
Oh my gosh.
You're being very, very, very intellectually dishonest.
How is
What
that it? I
world
can
map?
actually do it.
Wait a second. Do you have a paper fucking map of the world that is accurate?
actually, I can get a hold of a paper map of the world that is accurate. It's
Which one
called
is it?
the-
Go
it's
ahead.
the-
We can
it's the
Google it
World
and pull
Flight-
it right up. Go ahead.
it's
Which
the
one is
World
it?
Flight, it's what's it called? The world, I brought up maps of it earlier. It's the stupid flight paths that international pilots use to get around the world.
By the way, I've
and
been
when
putting
you-
up
when
little
you glue them all
corrections, and
together.
I will continue that because
I've only
you
got
don't always say
one
things
part of it
100%
done,
correct.
But when you glue them all together, the paper starts bulging, and the only way to stop
So
the
why did
paper
they
to
use
start bulging
why?
is
The
to form
paper
it around the
starts
ball. Yes,
bulging?
because
That's
the square.
impossible.
I'll tell you how.
Paper
Because the
doesn't
square,
bulge.
the
Who
square
set the
sections of page,
Cartesian
the
coordinates?
square page.
Who
That
set the
doesn't. That's.
Cartesian
I didn't
coordinates?
say anything about the stupid
Well,
coordinates or whatever.
what was that
The
map
square
based off of?
page.
Was the map made from Cartesian coordinates? Yes or no?
Do
Later,
pilots
Bears,
use it every day to fly around? Yes or no?
Were they used? Are they used by? Were they made using Cartesian coordinates?
I don't know.
Well, the
I know that
answer
those
is, the
maps,
answer is, listen to
when
me.
put together,
The
are
answer is
accurate.
yes. The answer is yes.
Are you suggesting that pilots
Who's
can't
making
make
that
it
fucking
to
noise,
I
man?
don't know who tinfoil hat
Greg,
dude.
that's you.
Yeah,
That's you
tinfoil hat
making that
dude's
noise,
about
bro.
to fail big time.
I don't know
Right
what that
here.
Or the other tinfoil hat. By the way, I love your guys' tinfoil hats.
I'll explain it. Retrograde.
So,
When the moon comes up, it looks like it comes in a loop and goes away. Same thing with
Mhm.
planets, where it comes up and goes a loop because it's in elliptical orbit. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
It's an orb. What orb?
No,
Orb
retrograde. Retrograde because it's an elliptical orbit, not a round orbit.
Orb what? I mean, what did you start with? What was the? We need to break down words. Words are made for a reason. And what do you think orbit means?
Dude, I'm not going to get into this argument. I'm not going to talk about it, but I understand.
Well, I
what
can answer it for you if
you're
you
trying
want.
to argue.
It means
You're
orb.
Go ahead,
trying to
answer
argue.
it. I want to
Orb,
hear
and
your
I don't
answer.
know why
'Cause
you
I
would
know what it
even
means.
use the word orb.
It's a circuit.
It's a
It's a
reference to
I said
an orb.
orbit. Orbit. The orbit around a
Right.
sun isn't
But
circular.
orbit.
It's
Look at what your
elliptical.
finger's doing.
Nothing
Fuck you.
orbits the sun.
Look at what you're doing.
Was that a super rage quit or what? I mean, that was classic.
That was
Orbit.
classic. Oh, making a big circle. What are you doing? Oh shit.
What are you doing with your fingers?
That was the best. That was the
Nothing-
fucking best.
Yeah, I'm pretty brutal.
Orbits the sun. But
Anyway,
no,
I'm gonna have a quick cigarette.
What's that?
I'm gonna have a quick cigarette. I'll be
Right
back.
on.
Don't smoke in my house because it makes it stinky. In
I'm
my
gonna
studio.
if you
it's only,
if you
8 by
don't
8
if you don't
cells,
Zoots,
so
I'm gonna turn that into a
it
short,
would really
man. If
stink
you don't
in here
do
I smoked
nothing
a
with
cigarette.
that, I'll make it into a
I
short.
Oh,
short.
you can
I
do that.
charge
I'm
people
gonna make
to
it
come in
into
my
a little
house
short thing too.
because
it's
they
gonna be
say,
like the
you know,
quickest rage quit.
every
ever.
time
I
you smoke
mean,
a cigarette,
oh,
I
he's
smoke half of
wrong.
it.
It's
And I'm
the
like, well, fuck
orbit.
you. You
The
owe me
what?
for a half a pack of
Orb?
cigarettes. You know?
Good.
Makes
Stop
a
coming to
big-
my house.
There you go.
Let me make a
Somebody
big
asked you to
circle.
Bring your filthy
What are
ass
you
in
doing
here.
with your fingers, buddy?
You want to see something funny?
That was funny.
This is pretty cool. Everybody's always asking how they took that little dune buggy up on the moon with them, right?
Oh
So,
my god.
Let me show you this. This is always fun.
I'll be
All
right
right,
back. I
so
gotta
we
fix
can,
something.
actually. I think I can. Oh, I saved it. Hold on a second. I saved it. I should bring it up that way, and then we can actually look at it. There it is. Thought I had it up. Damn thing. All right.
Damn
Let
thing.
me change this just for a second. Hang on. Bear with me, folks. It's amateur night here. I'm gonna present.
It's amateur night
share
every
screen,
night.
Window. That thing. All right. So what the astronauts did, that was stowed in a quadrant. The
It's too bad
astronaut
I didn't
removes
see
the
the moon buggy
insulation
thing.
blanket.
Because this is like, how did you expect it to go up in a rocket? You
takes
have
this
to
thing
pack it
open,
into a small
And it
package.
says the astronaut remotely initiates and executes deployment. Sounds pretty good. Astronaut lowers LRV from storage bay. LRV, that's Lunar Rover Vehicle for you
Oh wow, he know. Oh, he could decipher an
non-educated
acronym.
flurfs. All right. So from storage bay with double braked reel. As
Yeah,
long as
you
we're
know, if
using
it
a
has
double braked
acronyms,
reel.
it's made by the
All right.
penguins.
Right.
So the aft chassis unfolds, the rear wheels unfold,
Oh.
the aft chassis locks into position, the forward chassis unfolds, and the front wheels unfold.
It's like he's never
Right?
read
This
instructions
thing's
before.
great. You get a fold-up car. It's the
Or
closest
like
thing to the
he's,
George
yeah,
Jetson deal
it's
that
like
I've
he's
seen
never
yet.
ever thought
So
about
then the
how we
forward
get
chassis locks in
things into
position.
space. We
The
pack them into
astronaut
small
lowers the
packages.
LRV
We
to the
get enough
surface with the center
delta
braked
V to
reel.
lift it to where we need to go, and once we get where we need to
Heavy,
go, we unfold
right?
it. That's
On
how.
1/6 gravity.
That's just how we
The
do things.
astronaut
And lots of problems.
If it was that heavy that you had to do
Name
that
the
with that
problems.
thing,
What the fuck
if
are
it
you
was that
talking
heavy,
about?
how the fuck did you get it up there? Astronaut disconnects the
Well, with
SSE.
Dreamy, she
What is
thinks
that?
she has these odd
I don't know what that
questions.
is, but the astronaut unfolds the seats.
So I'll give you an example. The other day, they were watching the shuttle come in for a landing. Now, I'm not going to try to pause this too much, but hello, Miss Mandy Reacts. How are you doing? The other day, she was watching the shuttle come in for a landing, and when it came in for a landing, Sovereign Soul was trying to say something about it didn't come from space. They drop it from the Boeing plane up in the sky, and it comes in gliding for a landing.
Seems like a lot of work.
Right, for absolutely no benefit whatsoever. But anyway, so and Dreamy, as she's watching it, she asks, why when it comes down, if it's coming in from space at such a great speed, why when it comes down and lands on the runway, why doesn't it just smash flat? And she says just after that, she says, there's no strings to stop it. What? Wait. Okay, now I thought about that for a minute, and which is sad because I have to do that and it hurts. But I thought about that for a minute, and I think maybe she was just misspeaking, but it was the stupidest thing I had ever heard in my life. And what I think she was meaning is, and I ended up commenting in the comment section, that a plane without any thrust is still able to dead stick land without any power.
Right.
Now, what I think she was trying to suggest is that there were no parachutes on it, but because her brain functions on a minimal scale, strings attached was what came out. Now, I'm not saying that somebody making a mistake is saying that their brain is functioning on a minimal scale, because I make mistakes. For example, I was on here, and that's not to say I'm really smart. I'm just a caregiver, but I was on here talking about the globe or the flat earthers, and I was saying that the flat earthers have no science that can prove what they believe. And instead, I accidentally said the globe earthers don't have any science to prove what they believe. And the funny thing about that is, Sovereign Soul argued with me that I was wrong. So I guess the globe earthers do have science to prove what they believe.
Why?
Footrest, and then there it is. It's ready to rock and roll. And that was
Because
from December
reasons.
the 4th of 1970.
Because reasons, yes, exactly.
And they changed something in 1971. I don't know. Maybe added that reel, that double braked reel, so that they could.
I think it was a lot easier for them to just pack their little joystick in their little
Yeah, I forgot to pin it.
control car and send it, across the desert for their stage scene.
Right. I don't.
I mean, come on. We don't have cars that have motors and all this, that, and another thing that can go up there and they can fold up and put in their pocket.
Did I maybe I saved that to my phone?
Technically, we do.
See,
The
sometimes
Tesla
I-
is not
I'm
much
on here,
more than just a
sometimes
flat
I'm on my
board. All the
phone,
rest of it is attachments
and-
on top for you to sit in.
Did she
I'm
just
not
say
sure
we don't
where I
have cars
save
with
things
borders?
at.
No,
I
that
mean,
you
if it
can
was
fold
that
up and
easy,
put in
I'd
your
be
pocket.
selling
I don't know what
flights
she
on a
thinks it's
paper
that small.
airplane from here to Hawaii,
Yes, we
you
do. We
know,
have RC cars.
Right.
That can be
getting
folded up.
wealthy, filthy rich.
Well, here's another thing too. See, now this is what I want to ask him about is that there's a couple of things about this map that
Hello,
I'm
Dr.
even
Nimrod, you're live.
wondering.
I see that.
So
Thank
we
you.
always
Hello,
see
everybody.
azimuthal equilateral projections, the AE map. A lot of people like the Gleason's map. The air map of
Gleason's map.
1942 shows the world in an azimuthal equilateral projection. Why would the military use the azimuthal equilateral projection for their military operations?
No,
don't know,
I
you
asked
tell
him
me.
for science.
Why did soldiers coming home from Vietnam stop in
None of this is
Anchorage,
that.
Alaska,
It's just babble.
before continuing on to California
It's all bullshit.
or other destinations? Little questions you need to be
That's what
asking
they like
about,
to do.
right?
They like to beat you up with a bunch of word salad.
So what I wonder is why doesn't anybody ever they say, well, it's distorted in the South. Well, it's distorted in the South. It's because they're hiding land. Okay.
It's
We didn't come up with
distorted everywhere.
Cartesian coordinates. That was established by someone else. Okay. And
They're fighting
therefore
land.
there are
That's
no
what they do all the time.
accurate maps. I believe they're hiding land, and I believe they're hiding land in the Pacific somewhere. But anyway,
What?
there's a lot of places you
Well, I'm
can't
not
go.
saying that they are.
Why doesn't
or are
anybody
not
ever
hiding
use an
land,
azimuthal
and
equilateral
the Pacific
projected
would be a
map
good
from
place, but
the South
that would
Pole?
be easily provable by getting
I've seen
yourself,
one.
a low tech boat.
I've seen
But
one
as far
too.
as- so that you don't
As
get
far as the
detected
Navy using
and
the
cross
AE map,
Pacific,
just
I don't
fly
see
to
how you
Hawaii.
run into a mystery land
your
then
city using the AE
They
map.
say that they
And
direct
wouldn't-
because
you
it's
wouldn't
not
admit
only
it.
distorted. It's
You
not
want to
only
go under your
distorted
own going out towards the South Pole. It's
You know,
distorted any
power.
direction
So
out from the
go with a
equator.
low-tech
That's why it's
boat and just
equidistant.
simply go across
It's
the
from the equator out.
Pacific.
Okay,
and
so
if
then
you
why
don't
don't
run
we
into
just go
mystery
ahead and
land,
use
then
this
there's no
map
mystery land there.
here?
Dr. Nimrod is
This should
distorting that.
fix everything right up, right? And then all we got to do is just use this, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one
How
that's
come the
backwards
people in
that
the
I've
South?
seen. The
How come?
exact. That's the one that I've seen.
Why don't they, I wonder why they don't use that for in the South? Now, yes, regional maps are used most often. Okay, but overall, as a world projection.
Now, something I didn't mention here is I've also seen that map, those exact maps like that over Africa and over the United States and over South America and over Europe. I've seen those that's the exact same place that he got this map called Google. The evil people Google that he doesn't trust. That's where he got this map. And the exact same place that he got this map, right lined up with it in images, is all of the continents individually equidistant azimuthal map.
That is the map.
Yeah,
That's
but
why
I
I
don't
was
think
going to
you
ask
could
you.
find
Hold on
your
a second.
neighborhood
That's why I
on
was
either
gonna
one of those
Wait,
maps.
that's why I was going to ask you that if you what world map do you use? In other words, if power went out and you were trying to get somewhere, what
Right,
you wouldn't
answer.
use an AE map. Now, if
Well,
you
I
were
guess
gonna-
in that case, I would probably have to rely on going down to the gas station or my
right,
local commerce office and
Right.
picking up a paper map that gives
Right.
me the exact same coordinates and then figuring them out, with paper and pencil and north latitude, north, east, west, south. But those maps can guaranteed get me to your neighborhood from my neighborhood if I stack them all together. So they're definitely an accurate travel.
We have other, that's nobody's going to use that unless you're
Map.
going to invade fucking China and you want to see the best route from the United States or something to get there, or whatever the case may be. But let's get real about it. This whole fucking thing about maps is ridiculous argument to begin with.
But yet we use
as
them
I've
to get
said,
from
there are
places.
no accurate. Hang on, there are no accurate maps. We can all agree, other than the regional maps that we do rely on daily, as you have said.
Well, the world
No.
maps is what you were asking me about, and the ones that the
Right.
globe earthers made would be the Bing and Google and whatnot. And those maps, you can most certainly, I can use that to get to my buddy's house in Ireland. And I don't live in Ireland. I don't know anything about Ireland, but I can use
Right.
I
that
think he's
map
talking about Dr.
and my
Aaron.
own yacht if I wanted to
Sure.
get to my buddy's house in
When
Ireland.
you get into navigation mode on that, the little cartoon ball goes away and they bring up a flat plane. Sorry,
That's right.
That's
Dan.
how it goes. When you first pull up Google Earth or any of that other bullshit, you get your little cartoon ball.
Oh,
and
that's
as soon as you blow in,
bullshit.
then you start getting real photographs.
If
And those
planes
are nothing
were
more
flat,
than
where
high
would we
altitude
sit?
photographs.
Well, I was just saying
I like
that
that
map
map.
works to get from place to
That,
place.
that
because
almost
the
needs
map,
a whole
like that
video
map
in
that
itself.
you're referring.
Okay, what they're referring to is that the plane doesn't have to keep dipping down as it goes around the planet or whatnot. But a plane, in order to fly flat and level, the plane itself is not flat and level. The plane is actually a 7 to 10 to 15 degree angle, depending on how much real wind or whatever. And it makes you want to ask, if they don't have to tip their nose down in order to go around the Earth, then why if the nose is pointed up from the surface, why isn't the plane always climbing?
Right.
Because
and
of dropity.
Because of dropping. But like
Because of-
I like to ask him, like, if he's so sure about that, why not get on a plane? Get on a plane and don't touch the pedals at all. Like, just let them balance themselves out. Let them flatten out.
well, that and then as far as the navigation thing, how do we get from place to place if we don't have any accurate maps? That's the dumbest thing.
Oh no, they're not. Listen, Zords. If they're not precise to the actual smallest little rock on the ground, they're not accurate, bro. They're not. Accurate.
I would
I'm
agree
sorry.
with that.
Well, I will.
You wouldn't.
I will say one thing. There is a map which you can buy in England, and it is of
Mappity?
England. A Mappity, sorry, yes, a Mappity, which you can buy
A Mappity.
off the Ordnance Survey in England, right? And it is that accurate that it has everything on it. And
Well, they're pretty good in Englandia, aren't they?
well, let me tell you this: each square kilometer costs tens of thousands of pounds because that map
Shit.
is so accurate. Yes.
Oh shit.
It is used for surveying
Be
and
able to.
by companies who are building and stuff for official use. They are super highly accurate, and I think to buy the whole map of the United Kingdom cost millions.
Yes, Lisa, I agree. That's my whole point there, is that they never try to actually prove anything. They just try to disprove ball, and that's what every flat earther does. None of them have any science, and every bit of science they use is basically ball earth science anyway, just bastardized for their use. You know what I mean?
It's almost
It's
like
all
they come in
a
with
lot-
their own bias.
Uh-huh.
Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh, Yeri.
They
Nuh-uh.
tell me how to get to Portland, Oregon from Virginia.
Why would I use an entire world map to show you how to go through one place in a region? That would be stupid.
You could do that. You could use an entire world map to go from your state to my state and your city to my city without a problem with the stupid ball earth maps.
No, which one?
I just told you.
No,
Bing
Google is
and
not a ball
Google
earth
and-
map. Google is not a ball earth map. Google is a map.
Yeah, if you've
based off
never noticed,
Cartesian
I've
coordinates that we use all
or
the
if
time.
you've never
based
noticed,
off of
I
ball earth
I-
map.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
really.
None of it is. None of it is. None of it is
lock
based off of
myself
balls.
down.
There's
Shut
this.
up,
That's
dude.
more.
Quit cutting me off. Talking to myself.
No,
Anyway, I
no,
never really
no,
locked myself down to ball earth, and that's because I've kind of the goal I'm going with is I don't really want to examine the ball earth science. I want to examine the flat earth science. And
Yeah.
so far, every flat earth science that they've given me has basically, in a way, proven ball. Now, I really didn't want to mention this early in, but I was going to probably mention it tomorrow when the topic comes up. But Sovereign Soul about loses his wig when I bring up Bob Nodell.
He's
And
already losing his wig.
he asked
Good.
why, at one point, he asked why he has to defend Bob Nodell's scientific experiment. Well,
Thanks, Bob.
all the time, he asked, yeah, by the way, sorry, Bob Nodell was kind of honest a little bit.
Well,
But
Bob
all the
Nodell is
time,
now spinning in his grave at 15 degrees per hour, just like the just like the gyroscope, the laser gyroscope he bought.
You
so
know, you saying ball all the time, ball Earth. I'm starting to think you guys are saying bald, the bald Earth. I'm all like, really? The is the Earth losing its hair? I don't know what's going on here.
so all the time, flat earthers ask stupid ball heads, hey, why don't you, or can you defend Einstein's math, or can you defend Newton's math? And it's always, can you defend this other person's math? And usually those people are deceased as well. And my view on that is a man's science is a man's science. If the
Well,
man's science proves that he's wrong, we don't just throw away that science. We have science that knows he's wrong.
Yeah, and for Einsteinian maths, I don't have to defend it because it was defended, and that's why they are theories and laws. So
well, yes,
it has been defended, and nobody's been able to change it or make it better or fix it because you can't fix what's not broken.
They've broken Einstein's math a couple of times. That's what I was going to mention, is that Einstein's math and Einstein's science is always there for somebody to challenge. And if they end up successfully challenging it, which people have on small things, but if on, just anything, it is an example of what science is. But if anybody has something to change his belief, then they have to make sure to have strong, steadfast evidence that can be repeatable.
Oh, look, if somebody can come up and challenge Einstein's theories of gravity and say that they're wrong and have a better equation than what Einstein came up with, they'd be winning Nobel Prizes tomorrow.
Win your Nobel, buddy.
Exactly.
None of it's built off of a ball.
Well, what do you think it's built off of? I mean,
even equidistant. Think about this. All you have to do, if you want to see if that's true or not, all you have to do is just take a globe and flatten it out and see how fucking stupid it looks.
Even equidistant. What would be an equator? I mean, we know we call it the Capricorn or whatever.
It's right in between
the tropics of Cancer and
tropics. Yeah, the tropics. So at one point, I tried to explain to him that on the flat Earth, the ocean would be flat, and he screams at me, "It's not flat!"
I don't know. I didn't name it.
Or even equal.
Why are they calling it an atmosphere
making,
when
buddy?
it's impossible for a gas to assume a fucking shape unless the container is shaped that way?
I don't know.
Because of gravity.
Yeah.
You ever heard of gravity?
There you go.
Fucking
But
gravity.
they have scientific proofs, or well,
No,
at
they
least
don't.
Yeah, so Lisa's right there. What Bob Nodell ends up talking about is that he proved the movement of the sky, and basically that suggests that he proved the ether. The ether is an idea of Aristotle that the moon, the stars, the planets, everything was made of ether, and that it drew everything together to make those individual celestial movement drew everything together to make the balls that we see in the sky, such as the sun and moon, but they're actually a plasma reaction from, well, they didn't know what plasma was, but I think he described it as an energy reaction from the ether.
Yeah, because he didn't know any better.
Throughout his life, Aristotle was never able to actually prove his ether, but Aristotle should be a very familiar name
because flat earthers all the time invoke him as being an idiot because he proved the ball earth. He proved the sphericity of the earth. Well, I guess not proved it, but he gave a very strong argument along with other scientists. Well, he wasn't really a scientist, he was a philosopher, but he
Well,
gave
the beginnings of what scientists were.
right, but he gave a very strong argument for the sphericity of the earth. So if you're going to use ether, which almost all flat earthers argue ether, you are arguing a spherical idea.
And
Well,
Danny,
yeah.
if these guys want their Peace Prize, by their logic, they're gonna be like, don't give me a piece of the prize, I want the whole thing. Don't just give me a small piece of it.
I mean, they could get several
Experiments
Nobel
Where?
Prizes
that
if
can
they
be
ever proved
repeated.
it.
Mm-hmm.
That
That
can
showed-
be repeated.
Okay.
They would turn science
Well,
geologists
do it all
scientific.
the time.
Wait a second.
Mhm.
Scientific shit that can be repeated. What? What scientific shit are you talking about?
Geologists do it all the time. They
Flat
build
Earth
huge
science.
bridges, and those huge
Yeah.
bridges go along something that doesn't exist.
No.
Supposedly.
Do you know why a bridge is curved?
Well, part of it is structural
No.
integrity.
All of it is structural integrity. all of it is structural.
Well, it depends on how far between the gaps in the bridge.
You know,
Because if you still have
they
a
do
short
it with the
distance
overall
of
thing.
gap,
They make the overall bridge that way because then you have the strongest structure. In some instances, they do. In several
Bullshit.
curves. In some instances, they don't
Sorry,
curve
I
it
have
at
a bit of a
all.
cough.
There's no need to. None.
Structural
None of that is ever
integrity.
taken into account.
sure it is.
Nowhere
Even
is
before
there
the
any
first,
place
even
where
before
they
the first
bend.
foundation
Never,
is set.
never is there any rails that are bent
They're bent. No.
in this axis. Never.
The
They
two
bend them
top
to go around
spires of
corners.
several large bridges are definitely pointed outward, and they're
Mhm.
actually completely flat, plush, and level.
Mhm.
They are plush, 100% plush. But yet, when you look
Yeah,
at them
see, I
from a
make
distance,
mistakes,
flush.
but I
thank
don't
you.
mind calling myself
They
out on
they
them.
are flush, but when you look at them from a distance, they
Ancient chart
definitely
music and
point
art.
outward.
The closest thing to flat that we have in the universe is the universe itself, and
I
they
don't-
don't know why.
I can't explain it any better. I mean, I just said they
Yeah,
are
I highlighted
flush.
that
They are
because I
straight
was
up and
thinking
down.
about, well, instead of spaghettification,
You can
when you get
dangle
close to
a plumb
black
bob
hole, you get
near them
paperification.
and see that they are straight up and down.
Mhm.
or paper.
But yet, when you move out 6-8 miles
Okay,
or
maybe it
whatever,
wasn't
and
that
you look
funny.
at
That's
them
why I
through
didn't mention
a
it.
zoomed lens,
Mhm.
both of the spires are pointing
Hello,
outward.
Captain Happy.
No, they're
I'm just
not.
glad you're not talking about
Well,
taco
that's scientific, there, isn't it?
No. What's your IV?
That is your
I mean,
What's your
if I
perception,
wanted-
not
DV?
reality.
What are your controls in that observation?
Oh my God.
The plumb
He is
bob
not using the scientific method.
at the
plumb
base
bob.
of the tower being absolutely plumb, control. And then at the distance, the angles of the two tower being out slightly at the top. I
Now,
don't
use
know
your
where else to go.
perception.
That's what I mean. I've explained the same
Perception
thing over
is
and
not
over again.
reality. Perception is not reality. Perception creates illusions.
Yeah, I don't know,
Damn.
man. It's nonsense.
Yeah,
Huh?
that sounds
It's
scientific
just like
too.
if you. It's just like
That sounds
if you take a
repeatable.
box.
That sounds repeatable.
Take a box.
what?
Just draw a box on piece of.
What the fuck did she just say?
It's just your perception. Yeah.
Perception is not real. So what?
Put it on a shirt.
What is reality?
Well, in a way.
How do you
in a
perceive
way,
reality?
I mean, if you hit yourself in the head a couple of times, I can understand where the thinking of that is. That, you know, because we see holograms and stuff like that, that maybe your perception is. I mean, but the hologram, seeing the hologram does not mean that that item doesn't exist. It just isn't where you want it to be.
paper, you can draw two squares and then hook all the corners together. And in the very center will be another square. Put an X there.
You know, I was referring to
Your
natural
perception
holograms
at
in the
times will
desert.
see the X inside the box, and at other times your eyes will deceive you and you will perceive the X on top of the box. You ever play that little game in school? That's perception.
No,
So when you're
Dreamy,
looking
no.
through
Hold
lenses
on, let me
and
answer this. No, I never played that game in school because when they described perception to me, it was simple and I understood it. I didn't have to have the dumb teacher come over and do a little game with me, you know, such as stick your fingers a certain way in order to count.
looking at a distance and you're saying that you're seeing something that looks wider, what kind of lenses are you using? Explain that one.
I think they're called theodolites. Now take note, she asked me what type of lens I'm using.
But it's a perception because, like you said, when you go there and you measure, the plumb bob shows that they're completely vertical.
They use those same things to build buildings.
Mm-hmm.
No shit, Shamu. I'm not.
So
an
it can't be
idiot.
wrong.
No, your perception is being wrong.
My perception is that you are an idiot.
I can
Isn't
bring
that
up something if you
strange?
want to
We
start
both
talking
have the
about
same
theodolites
perception.
proving curvature of the Earth. I've got a nice little video of Troubling Tribune completely. I had somebody on his show completely dismantling that shit.
I don't know.
I
She
got
was
the video of
asking-
it. I mean, I
she
can bring
just
that up,
asked
but I
what
didn't think
the-
we were gonna. I
She
mean,
just asked what the device was to use
Oh.
to measure it, and I answered a
I
theodolite.
did not ask the device. I
Or you
said,
asked what? Did she not ask what lens? Device, lens, theodolite. What the
Like-
camera was,
No,
and
I
that was
said-
my answer, was the theodolite, which is the device. It's a camera.
yeah, it's not for long distances. It's for surveying,
you're right. That's for surveying.
which is measures flat and then mathematically bends the Earth.
And those can't be too damn accurate
Mathematically
because
bends the
there
earth.
was a
Okay.
town in Texas that was hit by a tornado, and they later found out that that town was 5 miles off course according to the map.
But so far, you guys keep saying this word flat. Is that your claim?
No.
Yeah,
I
as
said-
long as he's
what,
staying
claim
in the
or what?
background, we're all
It's-
good. It's got to be. Well, wait, why do you
A
keep
level
saying this word
topographical
flat?
It's
plane.
level,
And
flat.
that's your claim.
It's level. Yeah,
That's your
absolutely.
claim, and we've had scientific proof for that.
What's yeah, of
I
course
mean,
there is.
we're talking about pseudoscience is the title of the
Yeah.
show here.
Sure, right. And the pseudoscience claim is the Earth is a ball.
Wait, but we're not even worrying about that. We're worrying about the real science. And where is the real
Okay,
science?
all right. Well, water
tell
at
your
rest
brain hurt on
always
that one.
is level. That's first one.
Oh
Okay.
man,
Secondly, you
this was
cannot
4
have a
hours
fluid
of torture,
pressure
but I
system
really
without
love it
containment.
because it
That's
makes
two.
my
Those two
brain,
alone
it gives me a
destroy
chance to let my brain
globe.
function. Do you know what I mean?
Those two alone.
Which
Okay.
not a lot of people
Those
do.
now we have to get into the heliocentric. Now we get into the heliocentric. Now we get into now we get into the heliocentric aspect of it, which says that we are on a globular planet revolving around
He is
a ball
constantly
of gas
cutting me off.
that has become so immense that it collapsed in on itself and started some nuclear fusion. Okay. This too being an impossibility because gases do not form together into balls or masses for any reason, especially in a void or in a vacuum. So with those three factors alone, the heliocentric globular Earth is dead.
Impossible.
Absolutely impossible. Okay. Those just by invoking principles of basic physical science.
But that's not necessary science. Now, a good
Physical
example
laws?
of a good
Physical
example of
laws?
science
Is that your
would be
opinion?
it would be the example of life on this thing that we live on. Would be an examination of that life of the
Sure.
thing that we live on.
Sure.
Now, unfortunately, when
That's
we
one
talk about
field.
these people, who believe that the Earth is a flat, level, topographical plane, and all that other anything that says flat,
when we talk about those people, we don't find
Later,
anything
Nightwolf.
in that field of science. It's weird how there's a huge lack of science.
What do you mean we don't find
So-
anyone in that field in science? What are you saying? What do you mean? What exactly does that mean?
Well, a ball earther, if
Mhm.
I look up ball earth knowledge
Mhm.
and I want to find out, like, let's say I live in Portland, Oregon, and I want to go over to the coast
Mhm.
and I want to know what type of animals that I can fish or hunt or whatnot. Well, I can find out that there's Dungeness crab here pretty easily using all the ball earth knowledge.
Why would that
Now-
have anything to do with ball earth? What in the
It's
fuck
science,
would that?
because those are the same people. I guarantee you, those people believe that they're finding out what life is like on a ball. So
Why?
what they're
wait
doing
a
is they're
second, wait a
giving me
second, hold on,
accurate
wait. Hello,
information.
straw man.
However,
That's
there
a
is
Hello,
lot
nothing.
straw
of
man.
It's not straw
bullshit.
man. On the flat earth, everywhere, every person that speaks anything about flat earth seems to say that they know everything about the flat earth.
No,
Now,
they don't.
and they seem to
No,
say they know
don't.
about
No,
the.
they
They're
do
claiming
not.
that there is a scientific fact they have.
Dude.
Now, the one thing that
You're
they
an
don't have
idiot. Come
is any
on.
other sciences whatsoever. No
A
sciences
minute
other
ago, he
than
told
not
you
round. That's
he
all
didn't
they.
know why they used
All right.
a certain
That's all
word.
they
and
say
then
is
he
not.
let me
has
just
to
let me
come
just
up with
let
some
me
crap
address
shit.
let me address two major logical fallacies that you just presented. First off, the idea that Dungeness crabs or any other type of life form would be dependent on being on a globular earth or having anything to do with that.
It's
Those are the
ball earth
First off,
science.
pseudosciences.
Second
Those
of
are the
all,
pseudosciences.
and I would love you to relate to me how a Dungeness crab has anything to do with a globular earth. Secondly, you made another claim that all these flat earthers claim they know everything about the flat earth.
Yeah,
That's
they're
not true at
pretty
all.
funny.
In fact, I'm
Every one
one
of
that
them
will
do.
tell you that I don't know when I don't know. I've been
Well, I
asked
don't
all the
know
time,
is-
what
is a
is,
great
I've been
way
asked,
to
hold on,
use
I've been asked
science.
all the time, what is the sun? I don't fucking know what the sun is, but
You
I
have to
do
have some
know
sort
it's
of a
not.
hypothesis.
Hold on, I do know that it's not a burning ball of
I
fucking
keep saying
hydrogen
it, I'm an
93
idiot.
million miles away. I know that.
But you
Okay.
described science earlier as having a hypothesis, and
Yes.
then having a way to test that hypothesis.
Right.
And then once testing that hypothesis, figuring
Okay.
out if your tests are accurate and if they are repeatable.
Right.
And there's nothing really given to me from anyone that believes, this flat, non-topical
Okay. Flat topographical
plane, whatever.
stationary
Yeah.
plane contained within a dynamic fluid.
Yeah,
pressure
the
system.
brainwash.
Okay.
Yeah, the
So tell
brainwash
me the
repeating
science.
garbage. But
Tell
where's
me
the
the
science?
science part. Tell me the science part of where they told you that this was a ball.
I
or
don't
the-
have that.
or the
That's
science
what I'm
part.
trying to tell you is I am not claiming a ball. I
Well,
am
okay.
saying
Well,
that
where was the
you have a
science there?
claim that you are calling out over and over and over again.
Yes.
Flat. And
They
you
hate
have
that.
not yet shown us one scientific
I've
experiment.
shown
One word for you,
hundreds.
sea level. And
I
I
have
didn't make
shown
this damn
hundreds.
word up. That's
You
what was.
have?
I have
That's what the
Was the
shown
bowl
ball is
one of
called.
hundreds.
Sea level,
Was the
right?
bowl one of
Level
them?
means straight.
Holy shit. I have shown all kinds of shit.
Now notice
depicting
both of
that
us
there's
ignore
no
dreaming.
fucking
Guy's a dick.
That's
convexity to
because
this
Right.
earth.
usually everything
I've
Dreamy
shown that
says
shit
is
all
so
the time.
stupid.
Was the bowl
We
one
don't
of them?
necessarily care
Was
what
the
she has
what?
to say.
The bowl
The
with the red
bowl?
lid and the
that's
water in
sad
it?
because
No,
she
that
actually
was
has a good
discussing gas
question
pressures
later
and
in
fluid
this that I
pressures.
ended up
Okay.
and
So
Keep
saw
was
up.
that
that
we're
supposed to
talking
be a
about.
reference
Are you
of our
talking about
dome?
the fucking atmosphere now, or are you still talking about convexity? You keep going back and forth.
Well, sir, you just got through saying you had hundreds of experiments out there. I was simply trying to find out what were the experiments, and the bowl happened to be one of them that I could remember. Nobody has changed the subject. It is still on the subject of pseudoscience versus real science, and if you don't have any science, it's most certainly pseudoscience. Didn't you title this video When Pseudoscience Becomes Reality? I believe the subject is Real Science. The standard practice of titling a video isn't like saying 100 proofs and then only giving 100
100
points of
proofs.
denial. Now I understand that that is a popular flat earth video, but it doesn't give any proofs, it only gives denials. I would have to say that that video is not properly titled to the subject, much like your video, not being properly titled to pointing out pseudosciences by showing real sciences. You can't just throw pseudoscience out there without actually giving proof that your science is viable. Or I guess in your case, your science ever existed. Convexity, I didn't believe, I just said that that your claim of the Earth has no scientific, it's a pseudo-scientific claim.
Okay,
Because
No,
there's
you're
no
right.
Wait a second,
examples.
wait a
There's
second.
no
How?
examples.
There's
no
not.
examples given me that are repeatable by
Really?
me.
You can't repeatedly go out to the shore and see that you can bring objects that should be well hidden by hundreds of feet of curvature back into view using a simple zoom lens. You can't do that repeatedly,
goes
as
into
we have
your-
shown
that
people
goes into
doing
your other
repeatedly.
argument of,
As
is
we have
that an
shown people
observation
doing
or an
repeatedly,
experiment?
Zerzus, we have shown that repeatedly. We've
Is that
also
an
shown that it's
observation?
also impossible for the horizon to remain at the level you see it at 120,000 feet if the Earth were curved. So we have shown all kinds of scientific evidence.
He's went into
repeated
preacher mode. Can't be an
experiment-
experiment.
Show me
repeated
any body
experiment.
of water that man has created that
Now,
did not have a level shoreline.
now
But
it's a
Saab has
nice,
told me
They
an
use your
observation
little-
is not an experiment.
all right. Now, that being said, what the
Water-
purpose of me bringing up this topic this evening is not to offer science so much as to point out where science was not used and then turned around to be fact. Okay.
Well, then that would be pseudoscience. The whole idea.
How is
of
that pseudoscience?
Because
When I
you're
point
claiming
out,
that theirs is
yours
wrong
is, I
without
swear to
giving
God, I'm
provable
going to put you
evidence.
behind the card. I will, because I'm not going to have you keep doing that.
You asked the question.
I know. And here's the thing is that when I point out that something treated as fact was not derived at using a scientific method, but rather pseudoscience, okay, that's what we're pointing out. Now, as far as repeatable experiments, yes, you can do all kinds of repeatable experiments that will prove that we're motionless. I mean, you're asking to prove negatives, whereas the claims are of movement, huge, vast distances, burning balls of gas in a vacuum, rocket ships speeding through fucking vacuums where it would never work. All of this shit that's just run by with using pseudoscience. It's not really necessary. We have shown experimentation to show that rockets will not work in a vacuum repeatedly, done by different people. Okay, the results always being the same, repeatable and demonstrable. Laser tests across large bodies of water, demonstrable, repeatable, same effects. Okay, that's how science works. Also, during these things, it's noted atmospheric opacity, temperature, time of year, time of day, everything like that when we're doing these distance tests so that we can know how much refraction should be within the view. Of course, it's never fully able
Now,
to
you
be
do
calculable
notice that I'm
because there's so
asking
many
him for
variables
his
involved there
science
that it
to
can
prove
actually
his
change
flat.
as you're looking.
And not
Okay.
asking anything about
So,
disproving ball. I'm just
The
asking him
point
to prove his
is
flat.
that the claims that are being made are of a physically impossible condition. And we can prove that those are physically impossible conditions.
Through what experiments?
Well, let's see. Have you ever tried to fill a tire with a hole in it? And you didn't.
Technically ancient chart. I would have to say I'm bullying Solve.
know it
Oh,
had
no.
a hole. And keep going. Damn, this thing keeps going flat on me. Right? So there's one thing, and then you can actually control that too. You can control that too. You can tell the rate of time that it takes for the tire to deflate,
Well,
because
no,
there
I
It's
is a
okay,
breach
Smitty.
in
They have no
containment.
idea what they're
And then
saying
we
either.
realize that in order to achieve the proper amount of air pressure inside the tire, we have to do something about the breach in the containment, because we all know that a gas pressure cannot exist without containment, or equalization will occur.
Stop rocking.
Okay. So we know that. No, I'm going to rock, and I'm going to do, and I'm going to roll, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck.
Stop rocking. You know, that's a body language. That's a very clear body language when somebody is put in a position that they can't get out of, and they and what's funny is he's not even put in that position. He can kick me anytime, but he knows kicking me would make him look weak. So he is trying to preach out his nonsense, and he's trying to soothe himself at the same time. He also puts his hands up right afterwards to his face, drawing them down to his body. And that's funny because that's another body language saying that you're trying to actually physically hide the
Yep.
thing in front of you that is disturbing you.
Mm-hmm.
I want
Very
to.
true.
The
Nobody
same as
tells me
looking
what to
away
do.
while
Okay.
laughing.
Okay. So
Well, sir, I brought up the rocking because rocking in body
Oh, I
language,
forgot.
which I would suggest
I
is
forgot I
somewhat
added this.
pseudoscience, suggests that rocking is a self-soothing motion. Now, as far as saying body language is a pseudoscience, it's not necessarily a pseudoscience, but some of what they say is not necessarily true either. However, it does seem that every person I see rocking like that is usually self-soothing, and that's what body language suggests. That is a self-soothing motion when somebody is stressed. Typically, this motion is displayed when people are uncomfortable and forced into a situation that they don't want to be in, and realize that their paradigm is about to be challenged.
there's one of many like experiments, because
Yeah, I kind of wish we could do that, but it doesn't ever work out really. Now, I will admit there are times that I end up cutting off solve, but it's rarely in comparison to, God, I just can't even get 5 words out without being interrupted in some way. I mean, you know, and he doesn't think going, is an interruption if he's doing it over and over and over again. That's exactly what it is. It's to have it breaks up what the person is saying. If you say 6 times while somebody's talking, you're quite literally interrupting them.
in very like situations, I'm sure that people have had things such as air mattresses, or perhaps
It's like
a
asking
swimming pool
questions and
that
then
the
not
water
giving me a
can
time to
leaks
answer.
out of, and they have to repair the breach in the containment in order to preserve the contained
proofs.
volume of fluid. Same thing with
He
a
just
tire,
loves the
an air
sound of his own
mattress,
voice.
an air raft, a scuba tank, ballast on a fucking submarine, the hull of a ship. There's, you know, how many more examples do we have to go to show through all our trial and error throughout history that
I think he got his
gas
acting
pressure,
from like
fluid pressure,
what's his
Oh,
name?
that's what
Kurt,
we've been talking about? Shoot, I've been
Captain
waiting for you to
Kurt.
talk about
What's
the
the actor's name again?
experiment
See,
that
I don't watch
shows that
television
the
that much.
Earth is flat.
okay, water
Reservoirs.
we see too far. There it is.
We
And
see
it's
too
been
far.
repeated and demonstrated over and over and over.
I don't think we see far enough.
Why.
If it was flat, then I should most certainly be able to zoom in from my house here, or at least the coast.
Oh, now you're
If I
just
went
Shannon.
out
being
to the coast,
Okay,
out
so
over an
you don't
Now you're
know
being
anything. You don't
stupid.
know anything about Atmos opacity. You don't understand.
Well, I do know that if I
You
look,
understand. Hold on a minute.
yes,
You
yes,
understand Atmos opacity.
yes, and you know how
Okay,
the blue
then why
in
are
the
you even
sky
making
in the
that
middle of the
stupid?
day.
Then why
Now,
are you
here's
even making
something
that
I can
stupid
show
claim?
you as
Why are you even making that
Well,
stupid
stop asking the
claim if
question
you
and let me
understand
answer,
Atmos
dumbass.
opacity?
Oop, did I just say that?
Are you ready for me to talk about Atmos opacity?
Well, he
Sure.
wanted
During the day.
an experiment, and I say that the reservoir is the best experiment because, as I pointed out last night, Lake Mead is 120 miles long. Now, I'd like to know, he's the one that brought up his little surveying gadget. They surveyed and they bought up all the land that belonged to people and towns. They had to move out of the way. So how would they find out what the level would be of the lake rising whenever the reservoir was complete?
Okay, now this, again, I think I wanted to not interrupt this too much, but I have been a few times. This right here is the question that Dreamy asked. She's asked it several times, repeatedly, and she keeps asking it the same way, as if this is a proof of the flat Earth. Now, what she is asking, it took me a while to actually break down the question because it's a very ill-formed question. But what she is asking is, when they made this dam, whatever dam it is, I don't care. I don't really give a damn. When they made this dam, they bought up properties ahead of time in order to make sure that they weren't flooding people's homes. And she wants to know how they knew how much land to buy out before the water would reach, its limit, and they didn't want to flood out people's homes. Well, the very simple answer to that, I said, was science. They used science. They used this thing that Sov calls pseudoscience, all of these numbers and all of this mathematics, to figure out ahead of time how much water would spill into that area if they did this thing. And it was that science that told them how much land to buy. So her science, her example of science of flat Earth, is just a simple childish question about how something happened. We have this big dam here. The water is there. They bought up the land underneath it. How did they know how much land to buy? This is a 4-year-old question. It's not even. I don't understand how this woman or how this man has managed to not meet Darwin yet. Sorry, did I just go on to a rant?
Did I miss a
but that was
rant?
brilliant rant. How they haven't gotten awards
ma'am,
for Darwin.
Been
Oh, man, I
ignoring your
completely missed the
scientific
rant.
experiment because it is not a scientific experiment at all. It is simply a question. How did they know how much land to buy out when they made the dam? That is just looking at something and saying, how did they do that? It's not
Most
a
certainly
scientific
mavity.
experiment.
I think that was the word,
So this
right?
is why I pretty much
It sounded
completely
real
ignore your
fashionable.
scientific experiment because it is just the babbling questions of a child. And the only way that I can answer your question of how they knew how much property to buy out when they made that dam is to tell you that they used science. You know, that thing that Sovereign Soul calls pseudoscience.
I keep forgetting that
is
I
how they
already
answered your
explained
riddle,
these,
ma'am,
but that was a fun
with
rant.
science.
It's not going to curve. You can't take a frisbee, fill it with water, and then bend it into a curve and the water stay on the plate. It's going to run off. It's not that hard
You're
to
right,
do that experiment.
But the effect of level water and that we can see too far for the convexity of a globular
Convexity.
Earth of
Word
approximately
salad.
24,000 miles in circumference, that would require 8 inches per mile squared, which totally gets obliterated by bringing objects back into view that should be hundreds of feet below hidden curvature. So that's not there. We're in a level condition. Your own vestibular system tells you that you're in a level system. That's how your vestibular system works, off of level.
Well, that's not necessarily a repeatable experiment that I could repeat. Let's say
You can't use a
I had
level.
cerebral
You
palsy.
can't.
You said my own vestibular system.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I'm
let's
just
say I had cerebral
pointing
palsy. I
that
couldn't
out. I'm just
definitely
pointing
say
that
what's
out.
level, you know.
I'm just pointing that out. I realize that.
Now, I would also like to point out that I have not called him stupid or said that anything he said stupid, and I never will, but he's already done it a couple of times, and later he drops the R-bomb.
At this point, you're just trolling.
It's a projection, right?
Right.
Okay,
Well,
because I know you're
trolling.
not that ignorant.
See,
Well, I'm always trolling for the truth.
Well, there you
and
go.
what I'm
Then why are
trolling
you?
for
Then
is
why
the
do you
truth.
try to
No, he's
twist
trolling for
things?
the globies.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you
I
are.
would
Yeah,
like
you
to
are.
know what
You tried to misrepresent that I brought up the vestibular system as something you could use as an experiment.
He
And
did.
nowhere did I say that. I usually just merely brought it up as anecdotally.
But we were talking
to
about
it.
the opacity of the atmosphere
Yeah,
when
yes. Tell me how
when I
you
got
know
cut off.
about. Tell
You
me how
asked
you
me,
know
and then
about.
every time I
All right.
answer, you cut me off.
All right. So just tell me.
I don't
how
even
you know-
answer. I just start to say
All right. So just
the
tell me how
opacity
you.
of the atmosphere, and you're
Okay.
doing it again.
All right. This is what I want to know. Right. Just tell
You're
me
doing it again.
how you claim to know about Atmos opacity, but then still expect to see
Atmos
vast distances.
I was going to answer that if
Okay,
you give
go
me.
for it.
I've been
I'm
trying
listening.
to
Go.
explain to him how
So,
I can see something far
During the
away,
day, when the
even
sun
with
comes
Atmos
up at least
opacity.
45 degrees angle.
Uh-huh.
Now, why I'm mentioning 45 degrees angle is because we know that all of the sky should be blue, should be completely blue from one side to the other, no darkness left.
Okay.
Now, we could take out a telescope, a decent telescope, and we can point out to the other horizon.
Mm-hmm.
The horizon. Now, I'm not
Mhm.
talking straight up or down. I'm
Right,
talking
right.
about the horizon.
Is that
What does the
physical?
word
we use-
horizon mean?
Starfinder,
Just let
you're
him go.
going off on a straw man there.
Let him go. Let him go.
If we, of course, since you don't even know where I'm going, where am I going here, Dreamy?
I'm just asking you what your definition of horizon is because
Stop her
mine's
little
level
laugh dead.
or straight.
So you're just asking a random
I'm just
question.
asking. I was asking for your definition. That's all.
Well, let him finish his explanation, then we'll get into that.
All right.
So
Yeah,
if we wait till 45 degrees up in the horizon,
Mhm.
all the sky will then be blue. You can agree that all the sky will then be blue.
Okay.
Okay, and if we take a telescope and we point it out the opposite direction of the sunrise
Mhm.
towards the blue sky, and we use a starfinder scope to find out when, let's say, Jupiter is going to rise over the horizon during the daytime, we can zoom in and through the blue atmosphere see the little spot, Jupiter, coming up in the middle of the day.
In the sky.
In the sky.
In the sky. Okay. Now you were talking about being able to see something on the ground. Now
The opacity of the sky is what you were talking about a minute
yes,
ago.
I was. You said you understood it. And now you're claiming
that
because you
object
can hold
is
on, wait a second.
obviously
Now
not
you're
close.
claiming at what angle in the sky are you viewing Jupiter?
From the horizon, the point where the ocean meets the air. From that horizon, you can see Jupiter come all the way up and all the way up to the center, directly above your head. You can see it all day long.
Okay.
And this is a repeatable experiment. That is an experiment that you can take a telescope.
Right.
And you
So
can do this
you've done this?
thing.
You've
And
done this?
Yes.
You've
And
done
I've
this?
also
You have it
seen other
recorded?
people do it.
Okay. Now.
Red's Rhetoric
now.
is one, and
All right. So now
Astronomy Live is another one that's done it.
No, don't even bring up Astronomy Live. Fuck that dishonest piece
these
of
are
shit.
repeatable. These are
He's
things that you can
he's
do.
a dishonest
You and
piece of
everybody.
shit.
I don't care if he's
Oh, yeah,
dishonest.
I know the
You and
people to bring
everybody
up.
out
Piece of
here
shit.
can
Now.
do that dishonest experiment and
Cool.
see that
What
it works.
the fuck does that got to do with you thinking you can see fucking New York or something from across the ground?
Because that object is much further away
Hey, stupid.
than New
Do
York.
you not have
Not
mountains?
New York. I didn't
Do
say
you
New York.
not
Hey,
have mountains and forests?
Now,
and
here's your
trees?
straw
Holy
man.
Jesus
I
Christ.
didn't say New York. I said I live in Oregon, and if I was on Oregon coast, I should be able to see China from Oregon coast. I did not say
Why
New York
would you be
across
able to see
land.
China?
I said China across the
would you be
flat
able to
water
see
because
China?
it's flat and level,
Because
No,
he's
it's
an
not
idiot.
flat.
and it's
Actually, I
directly
was cut
across
off,
from.
but that's I what don't I know was how I saying missed because that. I'm Did on he Oregon just say coast. no? It's not flat.
Yeah,
Did
he
you
said,
hear
no,
the
it's not
standard
flat.
argument of every flat Did you hear earther that? water always I'd finds go back its for a own second, level, but that would mess up the whole flat damn thing. and You know how level. far it'll go back.
No, it's not flat.
It's got
No,
it's
it's not
level,
flat.
but it's got waves.
Much like Sarah
All right,
Palin
so do you know what
saying that she can
foreshortening
see,
is?
much
Do you
like
know
Sarah
what?
Palin saying that she
Do
can
you
see
fucking
Russia
know
from her
what
backyard.
foreshortening is?
Yes.
Okay, so you just answered your own question, didn't you?
No. Foreshortening is like when you look at an object from the front, and then they tilt that object to the side a little bit. Part of that object kind of, squashes down a little bit in your vision, and that's called foreshortening.
Didn't they
That's the only way
use
it's used in photography.
didn't they
You know, the
use
funny thing is,
foreshortening in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit?
Yeah,
that's funny.
I think they
I
did.
don't
No,
know
but like
because
seriously, they
like
did.
I said, I don't watch shows. I've never watched The Lord of the Rings or
Oh, well, they're
or the
That
they're
Hobbit.
is
they're movies,
I've
but
read the Rings, so I forget. I
yeah,
don't know
no,
if foreshortening was in there.
in the movies, basically when they had the full size actors acting together with each other, they were obviously using camera trickery, and they had objects that were really really small for the smaller actors, the hobbits, to pick up, and they had the same items that looked exactly the same, but because of camera angles, they looked smaller in the big actors. So, like Gandalf was opening a pot of tea for the a hobbit's pot of tea, and it looked tiny to him. I think it was called foreshortening. I forget what the effect is called really, but I think they use that in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
Smitty has a
makes
new
me-
nickname. It's Smutty. Yep.
Yes, you did.
It makes me
Then
laugh
I
that
should
he
also
says,
be able to see
he
China.
says
You
waves.
see
It's like, what do
Jupiter
you
as
think
soon as
makes
it gets
those
high
waves?
enough for you to actually see. It's not right on the horizon when you see
Did
it.
he really
Another
not
straw
understand?
man.
I believe I said at the point of the horizon
By the
where
way, I
the
make up a
water
song.
meets the sky. Now, if there are any of my musicians out there watching this, that's a great suggestion. Where the water meets the sky. Good song title, right? Well, neither is that boat that I'm looking out into the ocean before
Yeah.
I zoom
Wait a
in,
minute.
and
It
now I
went
can see
away.
it.
Hold on. When it went away over the curve.
Did it
And
foreshorten?
wait a second. Yes. The waves will foreshorten it. Yes.
And then
Absolutely.
what about that point where
Absolutely
it
they
can no
will.
longer? What about that point where it can no longer
Absolutely.
foreshorten, no matter how
What
much
about
you
it?
zoom
What
in
about
on
the
it?
fact? What
No
about
matter.
the fact, though, that the entire object should be well hidden behind curve?
That's right.
I don't know if that's the fact,
Well,
especially if you're
you can
going
do
by
the,
8 inches
we
per
do,
mile
we
square,
do,
which is
we
wrong.
do. Hold on, wait a minute. We do. We know that that's a
Well,
fact.
I don't know if
Hello,
that's a fact,
Logan.
especially if you're going by 8 inches per mile square, which
Why
is
wouldn't you
wrong.
go by
That's
8 inches?
zetetic math. That's
What?
math
Wait
that
a
is not
second. That's
used by
not
any
zetetic math.
earther.
That's not
Water
zetetic
isn't
math.
fluid.
That came from y'all. That's
No,
fucking geometry, bro.
no, that would
I'm
make
I have to correct myself there. That's not zetetic math, but
Denny.
it did come from a pro flat earth book, and it is not accurate. It's only accurate up to about 250 miles. And then what you end up doing is drifting off into space. And you never come back. It just keeps going and going and going. It's a parabola. It does not make an earth. The math is not right. No ball earther in their right mind would ever use that math.
that would make a parabola. It wouldn't even
Yeah, you know,
never
the
come back
stupid
to
ball
a circle.
earthers.
no, bro. It's geometry. It works. It works up to
It would
1,000
never
miles.
get back to a
It
circle.
works up to 1,000 miles, cuz any
to?
any curvature calculator that you even bring up, those are great because they take into the account the eye height of the observer. But when you've got something that's out there that should be well below 100 feet of curve or more hidden,
That math is not right.
how do you figure it's not right? What is the math? Tell me.
The math isn't 8 inches per mile
What
square.
is
It's
it?
a circumference by the.
What is it? What is it?
Oh shoot, I forget. It's the circumference by the
forget.
diameter.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, it's even your fucking guys agree that the shit is the right goddamn formula. Sorry.
Right. No, 8 inches per mile square is not right, and I don't
You're
think
right.
any
You're right.
ball
It's
earther- I've heard
it's
MC
actually
tunes
it's
on
actually
that is
7.9.
wrong.
It's actually
radius,
7.9. But we can go with
That's
that.
the one I can't remember.
It's actually 7.9.
Circumference or something.
7.9 inches. It works. I don't care if
But
you
so
like it or
far,
not.
there's no
It works.
scientific experiment that you have given me that shows flat, and there's definitely
What do you
not
mean
Give
it
one
me
that
shows
one
shows by no
scientific
movement.
experiment that it's round. Give me
I
an
don't have
actual
a
working
scientific
model globe.
experiment
You're
that
the
is
one that
round.
There you
claims
go.
I'm just
that
trying to
it's a
figure out where the
globe.
pseudoscience is, and it appears like
What in it?
pseudoscience
The
would be science
pseudoscience, the
without science,
pseudoscience in the
and
globe.
this
Is that
is
what you want to
science
know?
without science.
Hold on, wait. Is that what you want to know? The pseudoscience in the globe? Is that
No,
what you're looking for? Because I can point
no,
it right
actually,
out.
I'm looking for the accurate. So, how many times? I don't know how to work this mic. I guess. How many times have I asked him repeatedly and said that I'm not looking for information about the globe? I'm looking for the real science behind the flat Earth. How many times have I said that? Countless. Am I right?
Right, and he's made the claim that the globe Earth science is the pseudoscience. So he hasn't even disproven that. Like he hasn't even started disproving the claim that he made at the start.
Yeah, I've already thrown it out the window without him disproving it, and now I'm just simply asking him for his proofs. And
Well, he can't prove anything.
the only proofs he has is maybe in that weed he's sticking in that bowl.
Oh
Accurate
wait, no,
science.
sorry, ZX. His proof is nuh-uh.
It's within
Nuh-uh.
the flat, so that I know that
All
they
right.
can determine what accurate science is and what accurate
We
swell, science
told
isn't.
you.
And
Water
what
is
We
your
already
science
told
is
you what accurate science is.
telling me
You
isn't
can
an
read-
experiment that I
it's
can repeat.
natural.
All
It's
right, I
natural
just did,
science
didn't I?
Doesn't lie.
I just did, didn't I?
I just did.
What did I just tell you could do repeatedly?
Meh. Meh.
I don't know. I forgot.
All right. So once again, God damn.
So
man.
I know one thing that you did mention was the weight, the whole weight thing.
Well, wait a second. I'm still good. You wanted an experiment. Now you're
Okay.
going
He
on
wants
to
to
another
bounce
thing.
Well,
around.
that
so
is an experiment.
every-
But
Well,
go
I
ahead.
know. I'm about to give you one about the fucking curvature. Okay.
An experiment,
Yeah,
yeah,
that would
that
be
would
a
be a good one, and also the steadiness,
Don't
because
you
there
use
was a
stuff
flat
for an
earther that I know
experiment?
of that proved that without even looking at the stars, on multiple occasions using even Gaussium as a container, that there was most certainly a movement to the thing that we stand on.
No, that's never been determined at all.
Well, yeah, it has.
No, it hasn't.
Sure, it has.
No, it hasn't. Where?
Bob Nodell. Bob
No.
Nodell.
No. Oh, you want to see the rest of it? You want to see the rest of it? You want to see the rest of what fucking Bob Nodell was cut out? You want to see what was cut out? You want to hear about what was cut out?
Sure.
Because I've got that.
Sure. I mean,
Sure.
if you want.
All right. So
but
now go over to
that
my
doesn't
channel.
really
Hold
give
on, wait,
a-
go over to my main
Okay,
channel.
I'll go
Listen to me.
check that out. You
Li-
Now, in the middle of a live stream, go over to my main channel. I have ended up watching what he's talking about, and it's a audio only with words over the screen of Bob Nodell, which is strange because Bob Nodell was not shy of cameras whatsoever. And it's Bob Nodell saying that he believes what he was detecting was the ether. And as I said before, if you're going to argue ether at all, if it's ever in any part of your argument, then you are going with Aristotle's belief that the ether created balls, including the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole flat earth is destroyed if you
Yeah,
use the word ether.
And
The
Shannon
people who
and
believe
Cap-
in the people who believe in the globe, we don't need to prove that the Earth is a globe. Flat Earthers do it for us all the time.
Right, and it's not I don't think it's a lack of education. I think it's a lack of wanting to learn or a lack of wanting to be educated. These people think they know everything and they don't want to be proven wrong. So they say that everybody else is wrong. It's never a thing of lack of education because anybody can be educated if you just listen, but they don't. They want to say that they know everything and then they ask you to prove it.
So in response to this, yeah, I don't question my sanity at all. I know that I'm completely insane and I can handle it. That's why I go up there and it's kind of like I'm playing in a playground of,
Yeah,
insanity,
it's like you're the fifth grader and they're a bunch of kindergartners.
yeah. Link it to me later.
All right, yeah. because over on my main channel under the videos, I just uploaded it today. It's the rest of the story, bro. So
It's
before
like
you go
ZX
saying
is
that
explaining to the
bullshit,
kindergartners that
like the
Santa
rest of
Claus
these
doesn't exist.
globetards always want to say, I'll refer
Santa
you
Claus
to
does
that.
exist. I can prove it. They
You
use
see,
Noah
because
to
if
track
you're going
him,
to
and
fucking
it would not make
Netflix
any sense
to
at
get
all to spend all
information
that
or
money
Well, I
science,
didn't go to
tracking
Netflix. I
something
didn't
that
even
doesn't
learn
exist.
about
So
Bob
Santa
Nodell
most
through
certainly
Netflix. So I
exists.
learned about Bob Nodell
where did you hear
through.
about that? Then where did you get
Sorry,
the
of
idea
course
that he
he
proved
exists. He's
Earth's
perfectly
rotation
real.
with a GSR?
Well, because he mentioned it several times for like a decade afterwards before he
A
passed.
decade?
Yes.
It hasn't even been a decade since that fucking documentary came out.
Okay, I have to correct myself here. It's only been about 5 years since that documentary came out. But man, hasn't it been a long 5 years? And you will notice that I didn't hold on to this notion for long because I wasn't absolutely certain. So I quickly switched to, right, but Bob Nodell's channel lasted for at least a decade. Since it's been at
Come
least
on.
a decade
It has
or
not
so
been a
since it
decade.
passed.
It
He
has not
worked
been a
his
decade.
channel easily a decade.
Dude, Behind the Curve did not come out a decade ago.
Right, but Bob Nodell's Flat Earth channel did come out much longer than a decade
I
ago,
didn't
about
say
a
it
decade
did.
ago.
What
And
you're
he was out
talking about,
there,
though,
and
what you're
he
talking
mentioned,
about didn't come out until just a couple of years ago.
And
right,
why
but he
would
was
you just
called
go
out
around,
on it
being that you're a
in
man
debate.
and supposed to be intelligent, why would you go around just believing what everybody else tells you?
Oh no! Oh
What, that
no!
Bob Nodell did an experiment and that it came out with what Bob
Did
Nodell
you
said?
did you do the experiment?
I didn't, but did you know
Okay,
that
so
Bob
you don't
Nodell is a
know.
flat
So
earther? I
you
would
don't know
believe
for
what
a
he
fact.
claimed.
So you don't know for a fact what he actually did. You're just
Sure I do.
assuming.
He explained
No,
it.
you don't. He could have explained and left out shit. Just like when you
Why
go
would he
on
do
to,
that?
just like when you go into some of these DIY things, and they're trying to show you they're getting free electricity out of this device or that device, and you don't see their little secrets hidden. And other people try to do their experiments the same exact way and do not get
Yeah,
the
the
same
level of
results.
stupidity there. I mean,
That
it's a
is not
totally great
science
comparison
when you
for
cannot
flat Earth
get
that
the same
they, you know.
results with
But the other
everyone.
thing
So that's
is
why
there
I
are
asked
those DIYs that don't
if you did
work
the
and stuff
project
like
to
that.
find out if it
Yeah,
was
Mythbusters
accurate
did a
or
lot of
not.
experiments on those, and
Well,
it's
ma'am, that
always
is
they have a
exactly what I'm
battery
asking
hidden
for.
somewhere.
A flat Earth
Right.
project, otherwise known as experiment, that I can do and get repeatable results.
Otherwise, you are just taking another man's word for whatever, and he can be scamming you, and you're
she's
not
Well, I
not doing
do
this.
believe Bob
aware of that.
Nodell was trying to
Well, and I'm
scam.
not
I
taking
do
another
believe
man's
that Bob
word.
Nodell was trying to scam.
Okay,
And
see now, I've said this multiple times. Now it's funny now that I mentioned that Bob Nodell's trying to scam. I should let that play.
absolutely believed that his scam. So his scam was he believed he'd make a lot of money with the flat Earth idea, and that he developed an idea that would be flawless because he didn't realize what he was doing was actually proving emotion. He
So-
thought it was going to come out negative.
So
And he came out and made a bunch of a big deal on his channel. So
I
you're
would
cutting me
stop-
off again, sir.
I
He
would
made-
stop. I would stop talking about it until you've watched the video.
Oh,
I
I've
really
watched
would.
the video. I've
I really
watched the
would.
video. I even watched when he went over while he was drunk and stumbling over
No,
to his
no,
buddies
no.
and
I'm
saying
talking
that it's
about the
all going to be
video.
bad if he
I'm
releases the
talking about the
information he
video that I
has.
put up. I'm
That
talking about
bad
the
for
video I
flat
put up.
Earth. Oh, well,
I'm
I thought we
talking
were
about the
talking
video.
about Bob Nodell.
I am.
Okay, so
I am. I am talking about Bob Nodell. So
Yeah,
until
watch my
you have the
video.
entire story,
We're talking about Bob Nodell.
I would stop
It was
talking
about
about
Bob Nodell, but
okay, so you can link me the video later and I'll watch
I don't
it.
need to link it. It's right on my main page under videos. It just went up today. I just uploaded it today.
and this is what I mean.
Okay.
He's absolutely
So I'm just, I would
insisting
just
that I
say
watch
you're
this
do
video
yourself a
in the
favor
middle of
because
this
So
live stream.
before I watch
Well,
it,
throwing
let
a
me
lot
know
of,
that
you're
I
throwing a
asked
lot
him
of talking
that
points.
I will
Listen,
see in
hold
the
on, wait a
video.
second. You're throwing a lot of globe troll talking points that don't have not
Have you
seen
heard me
this,
throw any globe talking
and they're
points?
just going by what they
Or
glommed
just
on
ask
from
him for his
Netflix,
flat Earth
not
science?
taking into account what had gone on really with Netflix and what that whole thing was really about. And when you
This makes me
see
happy.
what was done upon further examination and further experimentation that was left out, you'll find that it depicted exactly the opposite, that the Earth doesn't
Yeah, the
rotate,
beardy weirdo.
that it is the sky itself.
Okay, if you moved upon the Earth and you didn't have any elevation whatsoever, and you use that calculation however many times it takes for 200 miles, you moved. So now you have to go 400 miles from the point that you first measured and make another measurement. And that would give you another portion of the Earth. And then you'd move another 400 miles and another portion of the Earth until you have went around the complete circumference of the Earth. And then you would be able to fully measure the Earth using the 9.8 inches, or wrong numbers, the 8 inches per mile squared.
I can only do measurements at 12 inches. Don't ask me why.
Itself that moves. You'll see.
And not everyone has always
What did they use to
thought
determine
this
the
world-
movement of the Earth?
They use a ring laser gyroscope.
And what does the ring laser gyroscope look at? I don't think it looks at anything. It determines how the laser is moving.
Right. It doesn't
does it
look at
at?
anything. It's an
So
aberration.
how would it be the movement of the sky that it
It's the
determines
drift.
if it doesn't see the sky?
It's the drift.
But it doesn't see it.
Okay. You'll go check out the thing. You're sitting here invoking somebody's experiment that they supposedly proved Earth rotation, and you don't even know how it was done. I mean, that's kind of
I know
ballsy, really.
how he explained how it was done.
Well, there you go.
I know how Bob Nodell explained how it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how he also explained that if he released the information that he had, that it would be bad for flat Earth, quote unquote. That's his quote.
So a quote taken
And
out of
then-
context.
no, it wasn't
Hold
taken,
on, wait
it
a
was
second. A quote taken out of context. I've seen the movie too.
and that
so
he was going to release it, and that he had to release it because
Yeah.
he had went this far.
Right. Okay. And so, like I said,
right, that's not
get the rest
one
of the
that you
story.
use to kill
Again,
But the
again,
ring laser-
another. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. You're taking a clip that was taken out of context and out of time frame,
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll give you that, but you're saying that the ring laser, you're saying that the whole experiment proved that the sky rotated.
According to the ring laser gyroscope. Wait a
How
second.
does the ring laser do that if it's not looking at the
I don't
sky?
know. You were all bent and held fire to accept its results if it said the Earth was moving.
Because it's sitting on the ground.
Well, wait a second.
And I can actually take a gyroscope and sit it on my finger and have it spin and move my finger back and forth.
You're going way far off of what I was just saying, though.
Can you take a plumb bob and do the same?
You
damn
just
thing?
now invoked, said, well, Bob Nodell, the flat earther, proved that the Earth moves.
He did.
Through his own experiment. So if you were willing to accept that, okay, then as soon as I say you've only seen the edited bullshit by Netflix, right?
And I explained to you that I didn't only see the edited
Oh, you
bullshit
didn't? So
by
you've
Netflix.
seen that? You've seen
I used to watch Bob Nodell's channel, yes.
Right. So
I
you've
used to watch
watched the
him when he
video. So
debated
you've
flat
watched the
earthers.
video. You've watched the video entitled "Thanks, Bob."
I'm not sure about that one.
Boy.
No, I don't think you have, or you
boy.
wouldn't be talking the shit you are.
Well, sir, now I have listened to this
boy.
audio of Bob Nodell apparently moving the goalpost. Now he's talking about the ether, an idea of Aristotle. Aristotle believed in the sphericity of the earth. Is he a crackpot or is he right? Now, I personally have heard Sovereign Soul describe Aristotle's science as garbage. How can he be right about the ether, but yet have his science be garbage?
I'm agreeing to
Now,
myself.
Aristotle never proved the ether.
Past me is
And
right.
that, my friend, has yet to be proven. So, I would suggest getting yourself a ring laser gyroscope and setting out to prove that the ether exists using it and making repeatable science that other scientists would agree with. You would be so famous, you would be given a Nobel Peace Prize for proving the existence of the ether. Now, proving the existence of the ether would inadvertently be proving a spherical Earth, because that is what Aristotle believed. He thought that the stars and planets were made of ether, and that the celestial spheres, made of ether, held the stars and planets together. But I watched Bob Nodell's channel, is what
Right,
I'm trying to
understand.
tell you.
Right.
And I know how much
See,
he
could you pause it for a
was
second?
heartbroken when he
Mhm.
Yeah,
found
give me a
out
sec.
that
Yep.
I'm about to get out of here, but for the people who are on my channel on the restream, this has been a small preview of my friend Zurzur Zyquin's live stream. If you want to join him right now and continue watching this, I left a link on the chat so you guys can just click over. If you feel like subbing, sub. If you like the video. But this has been a small little snippet of what my friend Zurzur Zyquin debunks and what he goes after. It's my joy. I find happiness in watching this stupidity. Don't ask me why. All I do is laugh at it. But Zurzur is the one with the brains and the one who breaks it down.
Oh, I
Thanks,
don't got
man.
no
I hope.
brains.
Man, dude, I've had a great year with you, Brody. Happy New Year. If I don't see you for the rest of the year, Dr. Nimrod, Happy New Year, man. I hope you
Same
have
to
a
you.
good one. I hope you get better, bro. And I'll see you guys next year.
awesome sauce. Additionally, you guys are welcome to come up and talk if you wish. I don't really discriminate on anybody coming in, unless they're gonna, say something that's inappropriate against terms of service. Then, well, I can't do much about that. I gotta put them. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, but
as far as anybody coming in and just wanting to have a chit chat, you're very welcome.
thank you, Zoots. Have a good one, bro.
Have a good day. That experiment didn't exactly work.
Watch
And
the
how many
movies.
times he had to,
It's
how
only
many times in
fuck,
debates,
how long is it? I think it's only fucking 9 minutes long.
and he also several times in debates had to hear people making fun of him by playing that clip. And every
Normally I
time
pin
No,
it.
9 minutes and 17 seconds.
was an
is all the
acknowledgement.
longer it is. 9 minutes and
Yeah,
17
can we
seconds
move
is all the
on,
longer
Saab?
the
I
video is.
mean, let me watch it later. But I'm
I
still
did.
wondering how this gyroscope tells you the sky moves.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on that myself.
But he
I'm a little
wasn't
fuzzy
fuzzy
on
on
that
how the
myself.
gyroscope
However,
moved.
I think it's really interesting that you were willing to accept the results without knowing how it worked.
He's a little
when it
fuzzy
showed
behind
the
the
Earth
wheel
moving.
too.
But then when there's possible evidence that it isn't the Earth moving and you're directed
would have
to it,
had
now
to
you want me to dissect the experiment.
We would have had to accept the results if it showed that it wasn't moving. What
Right,
he
right.
had predicted
So
was
if I
that because it was
wait,
connected to the ground.
So all of a sudden, when I show you that
God, he keeps cutting me
and
off.
I direct you to information that
Right,
says,
to look up. But right now we're in the middle of
well,
a
wait a
live
second.
stream,
When
buddy.
I do that, then you want me to dissect the legitimacy of the experiment.
You've directed me to
Okay,
several videos
you're the
you
one
made.
that brought. Hold on, wait a second. You remember, you're the one that brought it up. You're the one that brought it up. You're wanting me to defend Bob Nodell. Okay.
Do you think Bob
You
Nodell
want
was
me
not?
out?
Well, I didn't bring it up. He asked me to prove that the Earth moved, and I simply answered that there was a flat earther. I didn't say Bob Nodell right off the bat. I said there was a flat earther that proved the movement of the Earth. He was the one that took the bait and asked me who. Am I right?
Yep. I was just going to say the same thing. Didn't he bring up Bob Nodell first, really, technically?
Yeah, pretty much. Asking the wrong stupid question.
Yeah, and basically using all the points that Bob Nodell used because he was super Papa Flurf to so many of them.
Yeah, I mean, they all mavitated towards him because of mavity.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
Go with
So
Earth
furthermore,
independently.
furthermore,
Do you think
you
Bob
want
Nodell
me
was not a
to
flat earther?
defend. You want me to somehow defend an experiment that not only didn't I conduct it, but you don't understand it either.
He asked the
So,
Globies to do that all the time.
You're the one that brought it up.
Do you think that Bob
Defend this
Nodell was
dead
not a
guy's
flat earther?
experiment. That's really what
I
he
believe
asked
that
the
Bob
Globies
Nodell
every time he
thought the
talks
Earth
to
was
them.
flat. Yes, I do.
I think Bob
What has that
Nodell
got
was
to do
just
with
a
it?
man.
So if wait a second, let me get this straight. So the Earth's convexity hinges
Now we're back
on
on
Bob
convexity. We were
Nodell.
on movement just a minute ago.
Are you shitting me?
No,
The
we
Earth's,
were
the
on the
Earth's
movement
condition,
just a minute ago.
the Earth's condition
And the
revolves
movement of the
around Bob
sky
Nodell.
versus the yes, the
How?
movement
But
of the
believe
ground.
her
That's not.
idea
I've
is
been saying it 100 times because
Yeah.
he on his channel
Yeah.
made claims before Netflix even
Okay.
got a hold of him. And
Right.
his claims on his channel was because this gyroscope was connected to the Earth.
That
That
was
when
his
he
claim.
fired up this
He would get
gyroscope, it
zero
would show
drift.
zero drift because it was connected to the Earth, and the Earth is not moving. And when he
Netflix did
fired up the
nothing for him.
gyroscope, it gave a 15-degree drift.
Yeah, it did.
When he,
It
when
did.
He,
Do you know
and when
why?
he repeated it in
Right?
different containers, including
Right?
gaussium, it
Right?
still gave a 15-degree drift. But
It
his
sure did.
initial claim, regardless of why it did it, his initial claim was that if his experiment, which was a failure,
Okay.
he said
Well,
it
you
would
didn't get the whole
explain
experiment, though,
his
Zerzu.
experiment,
still
which was
cutting
a
it off.
failure, said that he would show that the Earth was stationary by using this gyroscope, which they used to tell ships' movements on waves, in order to determine that the Earth was not moving.
Do you know what the
And that it
Sagnac
would
effect
not
is?
make a reaction, and
Do
instead
you
it
know
did
about the
move.
Sagnac? Do you know
Who
the Sagnac
cares?
effect?
Not exactly.
That was
I
Okay,
mean,
so
dude.
do you know what happened when they took the ring laser gyroscope? What drift was shown when it was taken up to Pikes Peak?
whatever it was connected to, I'm sure.
Wait a second. No, okay. Well, all right. Go with that if you want to.
Listen to how
So
quick
do you
I
know what it
explain
was
this.
when it was at on
Once
Pikes
I
Peak?
realize what he's talking about. I'm not sure. I heard there was a little bit different measurement on Pikes
Little
Peak,
bit.
but I
No, it
haven't
was
seen.
slower. It was a slower amount of drift.
I don't know if I've seen that, but I can
Yeah,
can
that's
look
why I
for
told you to
that.
watch the fucking
Shocking
9-minute
because it's
video before you
further
go
away
rolling
from
on
the
it.
center of the Earth.
But he still believed.
I don't care what he
And
believed. I'm telling you what happened.
And even
I don't give
with
a flying
the, even
motherfucker.
with the
Listen, I
even
don't
with the
really
minor
care.
drift change
Why
on
would I
top of a
care?
mountain.
What? Hold on. Why would I care what Bob Nodell believes?
See, in
Because
my
it
head, I've already
proves, even with the
processed it.
slight change of drift on
What do
the
you mean
top of the
slight
mountain,
change? Don't you understand that if the
there's any
if the drift is less, that means the sky is moving. If it was the Earth that was moving, that
could
would
be the
that would
elevation.
remain at 15 degrees. Do you
It
realize
could be
that?
the elevation, and I can explain that. They had
Sure,
a
go ahead.
atomic clock. They had an atomic
Yeah,
clock.
yeah,
which
yeah.
was
We're not
set on the
talking about
ground.
atomic
And then they
clocks right
flew
now.
an
We're
atomic clock
Stop
in a
trying to
plane
silence
around
me.
the
You
surface
know
of the
what I'm
Earth, and because
explaining,
the
sir.
atomic clock
Yeah, I
was higher in
think
altitude,
everybody knows
the
that
atomic clock
experiment.
was
It was quite
different than the
famous.
atomic clock on Earth when it landed on the ground.
Sounds like
And the
broken
reason
fucking
why
clocks.
the reason why that is because once it got higher, it had a different. I don't know. I can't really explain that one. I can with the atomic clock. The radiation is the radioactive isotope is closer to the sun, which means
Oh
that
my fucking god!
it
Oh my
changes
god!
its reaction.
And their
But I'm
proof
not
of
It
this is
takes-
what?
nonsense.
And their proof of this is
that
what?
they flew
Well,
two atomic clocks around the planet,
what?
and they were
It
different.
takes
How did they
into
than all
account
determine that
atomic
was?
clocks
Wait a
Einstein's
on the
second. How
surface
the
of the
fuck?
planet.
Wait, what?
The atomic clock experiment takes into account Einstein's general theory of relativity.
Quite well, yeah.
Yeah, and all satellite navigation units have to take into account that these satellites are further out in space than the unit in your car, and they have to calculate for the difference in gravitational forces and time, and they do that by using Einstein's relativity
Yep.
theory.
An atomic clock. It's very simple. It's just how much it vibrates the closer it gets to the sun. Now, I do also propose another idea, since he wants to insist that it's not the sun, and that is that maybe it's an Earth dormant, and that means that as it gets further away from the Earth, either way the vibration changes.
Wait
They're
a
all
second. Just
synchronized.
stop. Just stop. How in the fuck did they determine what the cause of this fucking thing was?
Because they understand what makes the atomic clock work.
Do they
and
really
what-
though?
yeah,
Wait a
they have
second.
to, because
Do
they,
Well,
they?
they made it.
yeah.
Wait a second. You just claimed that it's because it's
I
closer
can
to
tell
the
you what
sun.
makes an atomic
You
clock
actually
work.
think, wait a second, you actually think that there would be from something 93 million miles away,
Now
that something, an airplane is affected differently because it's that much little fucking nothing closer, like a micron by comparison. I mean, are you shitting
that
me?
was a hypothesis that was proven by an
How was it
experiment.
proven?
By
How?
an experiment.
What
by
experiment?
doing that experiment.
What
Flying the
experiment?
plane
What
around the
experiment
planet.
determined that it was
Flying the
because it was
plane
closer
around
to
the
the sun?
planet. Now,
They
What
flew
was
two
it?
planes.
because that's the only thing.
This is another thing that I've been trying to prove this whole time is that nobody on this panel understands experiment.
Nope.
They do not understand experiment. It's a
Nope.
word that they use, but it doesn't translate to anything. I
Well, they
very
refuse
clearly
to accept, I think, more than anything else. Because that experiment, I've read up on that experiment with the atomic clock and the airplane. It was actually two airplanes. Flew one west, they
Right.
flew one east.
Right. I was
And
just
both
trying to
clocks
be
were
very
different when they came
simple.
back.
You know, I try to cut things down simpler. You know.
Oh yeah, no, I
than-
understand, but it was such a fascinating experiment, and it just proved everything that Einstein was completely correct in how his theory worked. And going west and going east, you can actually become younger going different directions around the world.
Well, by nanoseconds, but
Yeah, but like the theory still stands, and time, space, time and space, gravity, and all that sort of thing. It will affect you. So traveling, the faster you travel, etc., etc., all that stuff that was proven
Right.
by that experiment. It's
Right.
just it works. Yes, you get younger by nanoseconds or whatever it might be, but yeah, technically if you go fast enough you could become a second younger by going a different direction around the earth if you had a fast enough aircraft to do it.
Nice.
you can ascertain, or
Whoa,
you-
wait,
other
why
than
is
unless
that
it's
the only
further,
thing that can be ascertained?
unless it could be ascertained that the isotope is actually dormant to Earth,
And I
and
also
the further
include a
it gets
third
away
idea.
from Earth, the more that isotope changes. But either way, it definitely, that experiment shows an isotope.
Okay, that sounds like a bunch of nonsense,
It-
but we'll go with it. All right.
But what he
But
claimed was is
can
that
you
on the
explain
Earth,
why
we went off
then?
on a side
Why
subject.
on?
What he
Hold on a
claimed
second.
was
if
that
He was
the Earth,
distracting
because
the subject.
because it was positioned on the Earth,
I thought you
that
said
it
you
would
had
have
proof.
zero drift.
Wait a second. I thought you said you had proof.
I do. I can go to
That's
Bob
not
Nodell's
proof.
channel and pull
That's
up where
not
he's
proof.
talking about
Wait,
how.
hold on. Wait a second. That's proof that of why the drift would be less on Pikes Peak.
No, the drift itself.
Well, that's what you were going to give me
the
proof
drift
of.
itself proves a drift.
Yes. So why would it be less?
A drift, not a zero drift. Zero drift would be stationary. A drift
Okay.
would be a drift.
All right.
Yeah,
so
he's
And it would be
definitely
of the
grumpy.
object it's positioned on. So in this case, Pikes Peak.
okay.
And
So
not of the
basic.
sky that it's not connected to.
So you obviously don't understand. If indeed it was the Earth
Sorry,
that was
Nick
moving
Lover.
at 15 degrees per hour, okay, if that were the case, then at the top of Pikes Peak and at high elevations, it should remain at 15 degrees per hour. Yet it was shown to be less
I was
at
always
higher
wondering
altitude,
what
which
okay.
indicates that it
makes
is the
sense now.
stars that are actually moving and not the Earth.
Who indicated that it should be the same on the top of Pikes Peak as anywhere else on
It would have to be.
Other
It would
surface
have
on
to
the
be.
Earth?
It would have to be.
I wouldn't think so.
Because
I
it
would
not only
think
shows
that-
that, it shows that those fucking things are much closer.
But why
I would
would it
think
have
that it
to
would
be?
get different readings depending on where you
What
are.
was
The
that?
higher the altitude.
Yeah, he just said, but it would have to be the same on top of Pikes Peak. Why would it have to be the same?
Well, I know why it would have to be different because, okay, even flat earthers argue that this is what ball earthers believe, and it is kind of true that on the equator, which I mention it, I tell them right now, but on the equator, things are slightly lighter than if you were up, like, let's say, closer to the northern parallel, like here in Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I-
Well, I mean,
I would-
obviously, if you go and put that laser ring gyroscope on a pole, it probably wouldn't give you a
At
very
the
good
same
reading.
it would give you a lot stranger reading, I bet.
But it would still, there would still be, it would still register the 15 degree per hour spin, but it wouldn't do it in the same way that it would down at the equator, because the gyroscope is different geographically.
Right.
And it's just, if Pikes Peak, if I'm not mistaken, Pikes Peak's quite a tall mountain,
Yes.
and so
I believe it's the first one that gets light in the U.S.
And so if you're further away from the gravitational center of the Earth, there's going to be a different gravitational force where you are. The further you get away from the gravitational well that Earth,
That's
or the gravity well,
That's exactly where I go with this. Yep.
and that's just logical. The further you
Right.
get away from where it's the densest, the less gravity is going to be affecting you, which is why satellites have to take into account the fact that they are up in microgravity.
Altitude, the less the fucking drift was, bro.
On
I'm
a
sorry. I'm just
lateral-
telling you what the fucking experiment showed.
Man, he has continually cut me off for about an hour and a half now. I haven't been able to get in 4 words without him talking over me. The only way I've ever got in more than 4 words is when I finally just talked through him.
It didn't indicate Earth.
But it still
And yes,
showed a
I knew I
drift.
had
There is
my...
no
It
proof.
still showed
Yes,
a drift,
it
which
showed the drift
indicates
that it
Earth
was
moving.
proven that it was not the Earth. Because the Earth would be
little
continuous
thing
at
showing the
15
penguins
degrees.
looking the other direction.
Well, not
Sorry.
necessarily.
Yes,
I like
necessarily.
the music that was in the
Well,
background.
even the globetards say that you supposedly, I don't know if I agree with this one. It sounds like stupid freaking pseudoscience to me, but it's what the globetards believe, that you weigh less on the equator than you do up more towards the North Pole.
Notice
And
I just
don't
said I
it's ever
believe
so
it.
tiny by minute, but which would mean that
Mhm.
the location, at least as far as that gyroscope's movement, the location being moved on a lateral parallel from the original experiment being done, I think it was somewhere in California, that would probably explain the difference in rotational speed, which
You don't think
supposedly
there was a
is
reading
a
taken?
ball Earth idea.
Still talking.
No, well, why would it be a ball in the first place? That's just doesn't even make any sense.
I just
I
said it
mean,
was a
if
ball
you-
Earth idea. It's their idea that they
I was
have.
It's their idea, and
as
it's
far
stupid. I mean,
as
it
far as
is
what-
completely scientifically fucking impossible. Is
But
what
what
it is.
comes out from that experiment, even with a lower speed drift
Yeah,
at a different lateral position,
right.
then it would make a lot of sense,
Well, watch
especially
the
if that
video.
different lateral
Watch the video
position was
and
more north.
listen. Watch the
Still
video.
trying to
It would
talk,
make a lot of
sir.
sense that it would
I know. You know
travel at
what?
a different speed,
You're
and it would
beating on a dead
actually
horse.
prove
You know why?
the ball.
There is no proof of a ball anywhere.
It would be because of there wouldn't
No,
prove
it's
flat.
not. No, it's
Flat
not.
would be the same movement everywhere, steady.
No, it is
Zero.
okay.
But it's
would
not
it?
zero.
Would it? Is the movement the same at the center of a fucking merry-go-round as it is at the edge? Which one's going faster?
I'm not sure
The
if I
center
say
of the
this right or
merry-go-round
not.
is moving, I believe,
Less than the outside.
faster than the outside, but the
No, it's not
outside
going faster
has
than the
more
outside.
force.
No, the
That's correct.
outside. The
It might be the
outside.
other way around.
The
but
outside has to travel a greater distance in the same amount of time, which means only that it is going faster.
You
proves
might have
it's
heard me
moving.
say it may be the other way around. If you weren't cutting me off constantly, I am still trying to explain to you how that reading shows movement, simply drift. Not steadiness, no drift. And I suspect that's why you keep trying to cut me off.
Mhm. Okay, so you've proven a spinning flat Earth then.
Right. All right. No, there's no spinning
Right.
flat Earth.
Well, you just
You
use a
feel like
Pause it
merry-go-round.
for
moving?
just one
What
second.
proof
Just
of
use it.
movement is there?
Okay.
That gyroscope.
So in that merry-go-round thing that you're talking about, if you're standing right in the middle and it's spinning you around, if you have motion sickness, are you going to get sick quicker or slower than if you were standing on the outside going around the outside?
I can answer that for you. I ran the Gravitron ride for
Mhm.
about 6 months.
Mhm.
And during running of the ride, you don't necessarily get sick because you're sitting in the center looking out. Everybody else on the ride on the outside gets horribly sick. But it's not that the ride is not affecting you. Your equilibrium is still being affected, but not necessarily by the ride. I mean, but not necessarily when you're running the ride. But oddly enough, for the moment you step on solid ground after running the ride, you start getting a little wheezy.
Yep, because your brain is trying to go round and round in really quick circles, and
And
even then, just to say that if you're standing in the middle of that merry-go-round, is the world outside you moving faster than if you were standing on the outside of that merry-go-round?
I'm not sure.
Is it
I hurt my
Is it
brain with
even
I
is
hurt
it
my
even
brain way too
perceivable?
much with solve to make too much thought come out. You know.
No, I would say it would be inconceivable, imperceivable to our monkey brains. And Sov's monkey brains seems to be from when we just stepped out of the water
Well,
after.
somebody mentioned soft brains, and I was saying like melted butter. You know,
That's
proves
not
a
proof of
drift.
movement.
It drifts. A
Watch the
drift is
videos,
movement. A
Zerzuz. I
drift
don't know
is
why you keep
movement.
wanting to talk about it when you haven't got the whole fucking story.
What do you think a drift is?
I don't believe there's too much longer to this.
So
I mean, it's still
take it up with Bob
man.
Nodell.
I
Okay,
was up there for
take
4
it up
hours.
with Bob Nodell.
Jesus.
Get a Ouija board
Beating my head
if you have
against
to.
the wall.
I just don't understand.
Why I'm having to defend fucking Bob Nodell in some experiment that you don't even understand.
I understand it.
Is
No, I understand it. You're not
well, you just got done
understanding it
telling
that
me
he
you didn't
says it's to the
understand it.
ground.
You
He
just got done
described
telling
it
me you
as
didn't fucking understand it.
I didn't understand the weird experiment that you
Well,
brought
then
up
what
a
the fuck
minute
are you
ago
talking
with
about? You
some
either
other
understand it or you
random
don't
name.
understand.
I understand Bob Nodell.
Holy
I understand
Jesus.
what he claimed. He claimed he was attaching it to the earth and
Well,
that
good
it would
for
show
Bob
zero
Nodell.
drift. It
I
would show
thought we were going to
zero
talk about if
drift.
it was. I always thought we were going to. Well, good.
Jesus.
Yeah,
What
whatever
has that got
beats
to do with
your
anything?
What is your
whatever
experiment
beats
to
up
show that
your
there's no drift?
argument, just
I
go
don't
ahead
have an
and throw
experiment to
away.
So
show
it's
there's no
pseudoscience,
drift. I'm
which
not
I don't
looking
have,
for an
and I'm not
experiment
going
to show.
to.
Why would I have an
That's
experiment?
pseudoscience.
Zerzuz, if you interrupt me one more fucking time, I'm going to kick you out and ban you forever.
He didn't
Who's been
like that I
interrupting
caught him.
everybody?
He's
Who's been interrupting
me.
you all night?
He
Sorry.
didn't like that I caught him that if he doesn't have an experiment to show Bob Nodell, the flat earther, was wrong, then it's pseudoscience. And he literally took a breath before telling me. He realized that I had just I smacked him. You know what I mean? And that was my punishment. I'm gonna kick you out. And I reply, okay. Well, sir, I'm sorry if I cut you off there. But saying I don't have any evidence, I don't want to collect any
hate that. I
evidence, and
forget
I'm
that I
not going to
put these
collect
in
any
there.
evidence is pseudoscience.
You got me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, why would I have an experiment for drift? You're the one that brought the fucking experiment up. It's not my experiment. I don't give a flying rat's ass about it, especially when you haven't watched the whole fucking thing. Okay? That first and foremost.
He keeps saying I brought it up. Now, did he not say that it was a flat, stationary Earth? And I can't prove otherwise.
Yep.
How is that me bringing it up? That's definitely him bringing it up.
Well, you brought it up because you're there.
Oh yeah, he hates me. I know he does.
You live inside his head rent free.
I just go up there for fun, man. When I'm bored, and I go up there watching. I usually just go to watch the stupid, and I try to make comments in the chat. And he does this little thing where he totally ignores what I'm saying. He knows who I am, so I go up there and say hello every once in a while.
Yeah.
Especially since when I first met the man, that was the argument: is why don't you ever come up in my chat? Or why don't you ever come up on my panel? And that I was a coward because his entire chat one night was sitting there chanting like little frickin' children that I was a coward and I wouldn't come up on his channel. And they all ate their words when I hopped up there and slapped Sovereign Soul around for a couple hours.
Do you know what? I'd be afraid to go up on his channel for the fear of losing all of my IQ.
Well, that and being overwhelmed and overtalked, it does end up happening when there's. But what's funny I've noticed is when I get up there and talk, everybody ends up falling silent except for Salv and I. It ends up being a nice, peaceful, loving moment between Salv and I.
There's one thing I do want to point out, and I did say it earlier in the chat. He uses the same tactic that Kent Hovind uses when he's whacking atheists and talking shit about people who don't believe in young Earth creationism. Now, this isn't me who noticed this. This was Emma Thorne, who was a wonderful creator.
Yeah,
And
Emma Thorne's pretty awesome.
yeah, and she has mentioned this many, many times.
So I went over to the Creaky Blinders. I went over to the Creaky Blinders and asked him, or I think I complained that his lipstick was the wrong color. He should be using purple lipstick. And the reason why I did that was Emma Thorne was talking about, how many people just mess with her because she's a chick.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her that I was going to go over and mess with the Creaky Blinder and tell him that, which is one of her buddies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know.
Go over and tell him that his purple lipstick wasn't that his purple lipstick wasn't the right color, that it should be more purple.
Creaky Blinder's a great guy, though. He's very funny.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? Oh, yeah, Kent Hovind. He always does this. He cuts everybody off and pauses their videos that he's whacking when he's whacking an atheist. He cuts them off after the first little bit of their sentence and gives his explanation.
Yeah.
And won't let anyone talk.
Yeah, that's exactly. He refuses to allow the other, and this is exactly what Sub loves to do. Is he loves to just keep trying to talk over people, but it doesn't work when I'm I'm resolute enough to make sure that what I want to say still comes out, as long as I don't forget it, which that does happen.
Yeah, and this is what he wants you to do. He wants you to forget that what you just said, so he'll talk over you and make you forget what you're trying to say, the point that you're trying to say against him, so that he thinks he's after winning.
Yeah, you notice I stick on the subject pretty well.
Yeah, you do very well with that, I have to say.
Like a hawk. He tries going off onto pressure all the time too. Man talks about pressure all the time. His head's gonna freaking explode.
Oh man, I mean, he was talking about you. So when you said you were going for a smoke, and he goes, "Oh, if you smoke a cigarette, I smoke half of it too," and yet then he goes and does a bong hit. And I'm going,
for me to have hypocrite. To defend an experiment that wasn't mine, wasn't thought up by me at all, or for me to try to replicate it for some reason, is why are we even doing that?
Because you asked the bogies in debates, flat earthers love to ask, show me Einstein's stuff works, and show me how Newton's stuff works. Those people are also dead. We talk about them all the time. You ridicule and critique Isaac Newton and Einstein the same as I am critiquing Bob Nodell. Oh, the old double standard. A standard practice of pseudoscience.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding,
what we are here discussing tonight is the pseudoscience involved with making people believe they live on a spinning globe. All right. Now, I pointed out already one experiment that you can do repeatedly as far as convexity is concerned. Okay. And that's as simple as going to the seashore with some optics, record the conditions, take note of the opacity and the humidity, do the same readings as much as possible. Try to bring these distant objects. If you want to go across the shoreline, whatever the case, repeatable, document that. And you will find that you see things much further than you should be able to see them, especially if using
a little bit. Well, the other thing is here I asked him to show me his science. And all he's doing right now is just rambling some nonsense.
Yeah, but he's repeating your words about doing repeatable experiments and going there every day at the same time to the same place. That's a repeatable experiment, and it's not going to show that the Earth is flat.
He does that quite a bit. He takes the person's words and tries to use them later in his streams. Like, oh shoot, he has one he said just the other day. But that's what he does is the person that ends up stumping him, he takes those words later and tries to throw them back at somebody else to see. It's one of those, oh, you got me, so this is going to work later to get somebody else.
Yeah, except
And
his gotchas don't work.
no, because he's, he doesn't understand what is behind the gotcha. If you don't understand what is behind the gotcha, it's like missing an inside joke.
And if
You'll never get it.
If you're not good at debating people, you're going to miss the gotcha as well.
Right.
Yeah. I'd miss the
Proper
gotcha
curvature
completely.
calculator, which takes into account the observer height, because you can enter that in as well. There are several online. Now, another experiment you can do to prove to yourself as though someone would need to be proven this.
Apparently, Lisa can't. He can't sing. He can't math. He can't, or wait, did I say that? Oh, he can't science. He can't math, and he can't sing either. Like, what was that song? The I Can't Dance guy.
I Can't Dance. That was Phil Collins and
Phil Collins.
Genesis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, except
I'm sure that we all had a balloon from the circus or the fair or something, or a birthday when we were children. We all know that. And some of us were quite scared when there was a breach in the latex and the balloon suddenly and violently equalized with the outside pressure and made a loud pop.
No, only you were.
Scared us.
You're a retard.
And this was our first initiation into the idea that a gas pressure system requires containment.
But I probably shouldn't use that word anyway.
So the claim of the globe Earth,
not in relation to a person.
you can go and
although
try
with
to fill
scum, it doesn't
balloons
really
with
matter.
holes in them, or fill up tires with holes in them and compare it with tires that don't have holes in them. You can do whatever. There's a multitude of experimentation you can do to prove that is.
Well, you notice I haven't called him stupid or
anything.
anything. I haven't even said he's wrong. I haven't even said he's wrong.
You can verify that in millions and millions of different ways. I only listed a couple. All right.
Not once have I said he's wrong.
Air raft.
You are quite the nice person.
Take it out in the middle of a swimming pool. Then
the nice and honorable person when it comes
to
see
what
these
happens.
things.
You'll see quickly, and you'll also learn about buoyancy and density in that same lesson. You will find out that without containment, the gas pressure won't exist, and the fluid, the water that you're suddenly immersed into and become buoyant in, is also required to be contained in order to achieve that
like
volume.
So long to the end.
Just like our Atmos,
how did he say also?
A pressure gradient.
What was that?
How did he pronounce also?
Oh, he says "elso" or something like that. It's really weird, but I mean, I mess up on words every once in a while, so I try not to.
Also is not exactly a difficult word to pronounce correctly. Really.
Elso, it's also not. Yeah,
Elso.
he has several of them. If I went and picked them apart, I would sound like I'm being petty. You know what I mean?
Well, with scum, I think we have to kind of be petty sometimes. Although we don't need to. There's so much wrong with everything he says.
No, don't take that wrong. I'm absolutely glad you brought it up because I have thought it for the longest time that Elso was every time he says it, I just kind of want to slap him a little bit, you know?
Yeah, like what? Like that's a good way of getting somebody off their guard is to pronounce the shortest of words. That's the easiest word to pronounce in the wrong way. You throw someone off guard so easily with that, especially if they're being combative. So maybe you should try that back to them.
That's funny. No, I actually do. Well, I mean, I could, yeah, but I mean, I actually do pretty good at knocking him off his guard. You know, on a regular, I'd say within every 15 to 20 minutes, I knock him off balance.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do it in an awful lot more than that if you wanted to.
I still can't believe the dude with the white freaking headphone rage quit so quick. It was like, dude, if you can't handle that little bit of ridicule of your nonsense, just one simple questioning of a word, it makes you say, "Man, f you," and jump off.
That's
You need to look up a different career than YouTube.
yeah, exactly. You've got to be thick-skinned for YouTube. You really
Yeah,
do, because you're gonna meet everybody out there who's gonna be saying such mean stuff to you, and you just gotta let it slide.
especially if you do lives. If you do it live,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
oh yeah.
Surface
It's
to the depths. So there's multitudes of experiments you can do. You can test buoyancy and density by manipulating the medium. Real easy. You can put something that floats in water, um, add salt to the water, and notice that it rises higher. And as you increase the salt, the higher the object will rise. Its buoyant state will become even more
so
because you've increased the density of the medium in relation to the volume of density.
how would you do that with another liquid, say like liquid mercury, and floating an anvil in the liquid mercury? How would you change the density of the mercury so that it would float out of the mercury more?
That's
That just destroys that experiment of his trying to explain an experiment totally, because
he
you
goes
cannot
into
trust water.
the liquid mercury thing here, and you know, I don't think there's any way to really help the man, but that is part of what I end up having to not really correct myself, but I want to make a little more clarification because in my experiment that I did, which I'm loading on the screen right now, by the way,
Hmm.
he leaves it down there on the bottom like he doesn't see it. He knows how to pull up guests down there, so you know he sees my video down there sitting there waiting to be pulled up.
Yeah, he's choosing
And
not to.
right, it's the weight experiment, and what I have to, I don't have to, but I feel that I should probably make a video that clarifies it more.
Hmm.
Is remember when I said in that video that that if it's in the water, it does weigh less, but it's only an apparent weight. It's not that the object actually weighs less. It's that the density and volume of the water is reacting upon it, making it apparently seem to weigh
Okay,
less.
yeah, so the better explanation would be the mass of the object doesn't change, only because of the medium of it, its weight changes, and its
Well,
weight depends on the medium that it's in. And we weigh things by measuring their mass,
right,
which
that's
is
what the
why,
video. It's going to be
yeah,
relatively short, but that's what the video I will be explaining further of.
I
You
wish I
know,
could explain it better too, but
that's what
not
I'm
my
going to try to
speciality.
do is try to explain it as simply as remember when I did the video that showed where the weight was the same no matter what liquid I put it into.
Hmm.
I want to do similar to that, except for explain why in honey, because this ends up coming up in this series, is in honey why a let's say 1,000 gram or 100 gram weight dropped through X amount of honey, it takes much longer for it to reach the bottom of the container. And I try to explain to him that it's still calculated with 9.8 meters per second squared. It's just there's other calculations to it that you have to add. And
Ooh,
what
yes.
those are is the density and the volume of the medium that it's passing through.
Now
And then that with
I
the density and the volume and the mass of the object that you have
hmm.
should calculate the weight that the scale is going to show you.
Now,
But
I am reminded of a Mythbusters test where they were seeing whether or not swimming through syrup and swimming through water was very similar, and so they got a swimmer in. That would be the same sort of thing going on there.
yes,
And
and I think I have an interesting way to look at it when I make my video later.
yeah, that sounds really cool, actually. Yeah. Never
of
I
thought
the
like
of
object,
playing around with experiments, which is what
thereby
I keep
changing
asking him
its
for. I spent 2
gravitas or
hours
weight.
asking him for an experiment, and
So
all
there's a
he's
bunch
done
of
is
stuff you
work
can
me to
do
death.
right there,
And
just on
he's
those
got
two
nothing.
basic fundamentals that make the globe an impossibility.
He finally
Now
pulls
take
it up.
note of how long that was that I gave him to explain all of his nonsense, repeatedly, sadly, and then I waited for a point to talk.
Yeah, oh yeah, I was noticing that when I was
Now,
counting.
all of that was observations, and you yourself have said that observations are not science. What is science? Science is
Wait a
experiment.
second, didn't I just say I could manipulate
I'm
the
talking,
medium?
but you've said that, and
Right. And is that
and
not part of the scientific
I'm still
experimentation? That we
talking.
manipulate the variables to see the results?
You haven't necessarily given me a scientific experiment to prove that the anvil
Mhm.
weight has necessarily changed when in the mercury.
Well, sure it did. Why would it? Why
Or
else
that
would it?
the anvil.
Why can you manipulate it around so easily with one hand, and in a lot of instances, just one or two fingers?
Was this a question that you asked that you intended to get a response to? This Y2 question that I am trying to answer, but you keep cutting me off?
It's
Manipulate
apparently
it
has
around
changed.
because it doesn't weigh as much. That's
It's
all.
apparently has changed because of the buoyancy and density of the medium around it.
Which
but
changed
the
its
weight,
own weight. The
no,
weight is
it-
dependent on the medium that it's in.
not necessarily.
Yes,
Not necessarily.
necessarily.
So
Absolutely necessarily. It's the relative density for volume to
he doesn't
the
know. He's
medium
using these
with
words
it,
that
that it
all come
resides in.
from
For in
Yeah,
this
the
instance,
relative
it's
density
air.
disequilibrium.
Okay, at
all
approximately
from this thing. He
14.7.
come
Hell,
from
I'm a
this
little
thing he
higher here
calls
where I'm at.
pseudoscience.
Maybe it's a little bit less. Who knows? I haven't checked it.
But the anvil,
That's his middle name,
it's never really
pseudoscience.
changed weight.
Mm-hmm. You
It
can lift
changed
on
weight.
it.
I thought it
You
was
can
his
move it
first. I thought
around,
his middle
manipulate
was
the shit out
DUI
of it while
Dave.
it's in that
Or
mercury.
Chicken Man. So I have a little
Roll it around,
Mexican
spin
Man.
it.
DUI Dave.
I had a
don't
little. I
know.
have a little experiment
And
I
it's
did
not,
that
and
shows
it
at
really
least the
isn't the
best
weight
way
of the
I
anvil, it's the
can.
mass
That
of the
regardless
anvil.
of what medium I place these weights in, we only use two mediums, and
Yeah,
in
I'm
this
trying not
case,
to give
one was
away all the
air,
secrets of
and
my
the other one
video
was
I'm going to
water.
make in a little bit.
That
I
these
know,
weights
it's just
most certainly
my
don't
head is
change.
screaming.
What?
Oh
How
yeah,
did you weigh them?
it's definitely like
Oh, in the
banging your
water.
head against the
Oh,
wall.
I see what you're doing. You didn't have a scale in the water with the object sitting
I
on it.
also explained that, sir. That's an apparent weight, yes.
Okay.
An apparent weight.
I take it this
you know
guy's
what I mean?
from the
That,
outback.
can we leave our planet Earth?
Does it
No.
really exist,
No.
man? I thought it doesn't
Okay,
exist.
so weight
it
as
must
far
be,
as
must
here
be an
on Earth
imposter.
always stays the same.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Does
Hey
it?
man, how are you doing?
How come? Why do they put? Why do they use a neutral buoyancy lab? Why do they have physical therapy for obese people in water?
He really
Because
thinks it makes
they
them
can make
lose weight.
something appear to be lighter, but that object
What do you mean
is
appear to
still
be lighter? The weight
appear to
is
be lighter.
totally dependent upon the amount that
The
they're in
object
the
still
object.
weighs what its mass weighs.
It's only not only in that medium.
My head almost cracked.
Okay.
I just went ahead and started my video.
What does a cork weigh in water? See what I'm saying? You're using
Yeah,
some
I already
extremes
explained
there.
this 4
Let's-
times. I'm like, no,
you're
I'm just-
actually
What
measuring the
extremes
overall
am I
weight.
using? I
See,
haven't
this
even
is just
started
like-
my video
wait,
yet.
I know. This
Like, what are
is
you
just like when
doing?
these
I haven't
people
even
they always,
started my
show me
video
a
yet."
pressure gradient inside of a gas cylinder. Well, there is one, but you would have to have your pressure readings inside the tank.
Now here I'm
Could
checking
you
how
please
long
stop
I have.
saying pressure? Come up with something else. You have been saying pressure for almost 2 hours now.
Because I was gonna go.
You have
I
a
was gonna
gauge
go
on the
smoke a
outside that
cigarette
gives
when
you
I
an
played my
overall
video,
pressure.
and it ended up being,
But
I
that's
guess, a failure on
that's
my
an
part.
overall pressure. So our
It was no
Atmos,
sound.
even though we're at 14.7,
You see
Yeah,
me
well,
checking to see how
ground
long.
level
How long do I
or
got to
sea
have
level.
a cigarette? Okay.
What's the
Mhm.
overall pressure of our complete Atmos? It's going to be different.
I don't
But
know. You
none of
babbled
it-
on
you see,
long
none of
enough.
it-
I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about.
But none of it could
Ding,
even
ding.
exist without containment. The
I
act
don't know.
of
You
pressing
babbled on
pressure,
long enough. I
press.
forgot what you were
press
talking
it.
about.
Oh yeah, that pressure thing. You were talking about the the dome and the bowl, the containment and the pressure, and yeah, but that's man, that's a different subject.
Yeah, I
But
don't want to
at the
get on
moment,
that one yet.
we were talking about, did the anvil itself
Mhm.
actually change in weight when in a different medium? Now, I
Mhm.
don't have mercury. I only have water.
Well,
I
what
could have
is
used
weight? First off, what
oil.
is weight?
God, I'm
Define weight.
talking. I can define cutting me off. It's when I'm in the middle of saying something and you ask me define weight.
Oh, weight is mass, and mass by density by 9.8 meters per second squared, regardless what you want to call that.
I miss
So it's
volume.
basically the rate at which it falls.
Not necessarily. It's the amount
how's
of
that
force.
determined?
Weight would be the best way to describe weight that I could describe it, not being a scientist, is that weight is the amount of force placed upon an object.
What's for
By
what?
another
Force from what?
object. I'm still
The
talking,
object. So this
dude.
1,000, wait. So this 1,000 gram or 1,000 amount of force object, when I
Mhm.
put that 1,000 amount of force object onto this scale, it will register 1,000 amount of force, because
But how can the object be the source of its own force?
it's not.
Okay, so then what is causing?
It's a series of calculations that are put together from the it's the, what's the other one other than mass? It's the volume, the mass, the
Mhm.
density,
Mm-hmm.
and 9.8 meters per second squared.
But
And
not
again,
everything falls at 9.8 meters per second squared.
Yes, it does.
right.
Okay, and
That's
once
a
again, that's
stationary.
an
That's when
average.
sitting.
Now,
That's when sitting. Wait. That's when sitting still. When
but
sitting
what in
still
what
upon the
medium?
scale. Wait, sir.
But wait a second. But what in what medium?
I'm gonna.
is
If
that
you'd let me play the
9.8?
video here, we'll get
I know,
to
but
that.
what I'm getting at is this: you have an
They don't know the difference
acceleration of
between
9.8 meters per second.
acceleration
Is
and
that right?
speed.
Correct.
Squared.
And I would
Right?
have to use both of those. I would have to use that same
Right.
acceleration in water.
You would.
And that same
So things
acceleration.
fall
Yes.
at 9.8 meters per second squared in
That
water.
acceleration is included with the buoyancy
What is
and
the
density
acceleration
of
in water?
Okay, you're confusing falling object with a dead still object. Now, with a falling object, yes, I would have to include drag and the buoyancy of the medium that it's in. But what we're talking about here is a dead stationary object.
Okay.
Now, how this scale works, which was all I was trying to explain a second ago, is how this scale works, is that it takes this item, and when you put it on it, it calculates out the density, or you could calculate all of that and then put it on the scale and find out that that's what the scale is doing, is just what you're doing
run
in
the
reverse.
experiment. Let me see it. Let me see this. I already
Finally.
figured out what you're going to do here, but go ahead.
Wish I
Oh,
would
yeah,
have had
we're going
audio.
to show you
though.
that the weight of this 1,000 gram, and none of them change, no matter if
And
I weigh them in
why
air,
it's sad is
or if
because
I
I
weigh
end
them
up
in water.
correcting it when I
Right.
come back from my cigarette.
And I do
I
explain the
end
other
up
one.
Bringing
Okay,
back
go
up
ahead.
the
Let's see
video
the
with
experiment.
audio, and he refuses to play it. Well, I messed up a little bit here. I had planned to go out and have a cigarette while the video played, so that if he made any interruptions during the video, I intended not to answer them. Unfortunately, I forgot to share the sound. But it still
It
triggers
happens.
him.
Oh yeah.
There's no such condition as a vacuum, M-ball. And a vacuum requires containment.
Yeah, M-Ball busts his balls all the time. It's funny.
Vacuums don't exist in nature.
Yeah, that was when I had my hand hurt.
Vacuums
Yeah,
don't
it's
exist.
There's
sad
supposed to
that
be
I had
sound
it
to
all.
this.
Yes, there's supposed to be sound, but I'm out smoking a cigarette because you won't stop interrupting me, you jackwagon.
Yellow. Is there supposed to be sound to this?
That's why I went out and had a cigarette, because you won't
no
stop
sound.
interrupting me, and I didn't want ability to be able to stop it once it started playing. But unfortunately, I have no sound.
either.
But
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys have seen the video. You know what video is being played here.
But I mean, anything to trigger those two.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah. He's like, I know what's happening. I know what it is. I know it. I knew it. I just knew it. You'll see. It's funny. I should probably cut some of that out, but I wanted to show that I ended up making it silent, and I guess that was the only opportunity I had for him to show that to his viewers, because he knows what's there. He knows what's there, and he knows it destroys his entire argument.
I don't know. He's not responding.
He has no argument to destroy because it's just nonsense.
Yeah, it's just babbly words. At least I have things that I'm trying to do to explain, which is called experiments.
And at least you have half an idea of what you're doing and what you're talking about, unlike him. Now, you probably have more of an idea than that, but I'm just giving a medium equation of how smarter than he is.
When I learn something, I understand it.
I don't know what's going on, man. I'm just looking at this fucking scale.
That was a funny question. Can you weigh a balloon in water?
Unfortunately, Sovereign Soul babbles quite a bit, and I missed that joke, and I wasn't in the room right now. But you can weigh a balloon in water, yet as long as the balloon stays connected to the water. If the balloon is a helium balloon, then no, you necessarily cannot weigh it in water, and that is because when it reaches the surface of the water, it then goes up into the atmosphere. But as long as that balloon is an air-filled balloon resting on the water, then yes, you can weigh it. It takes a little bit more work, but you can weigh it. You first weigh the water's mass, and then you weigh the water's mass with the balloon on top, subtracting the amount that's left over, and you have the balloon. Ding, ding, ding.
Hell no.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The way the scale would sink and the balloon would float.
I mean, these are the simplest things.
Well, that's when you tie the
but they've never done these experiments.
Yeah, that's it. That way it'll stick to it.
And why would they ever do these experiments?
It would be common sense if people thought of it like a brick, you know. You can have a brick made of clay. You could have a brick the same size as the clay.
Oh my fucking God. Is he really going to do
it? Triggered him. No sound.
Hold on. I knew this was what he was going to do. Okay. I knew this was what he's going to do. He's going to use the cup as a tare weight. He's going to use the water
and it's sad there was no sound because my joke was there
realizing is that he's still the whole mass of the entire fucking experiment is in the medium of air. Okay. Put the fucking scale in the water.
I'll deal with
then
that.
Then put the object on it.
Later is what I told him.
After the video. I knew that's what he was going to do.
Yeah, but what does it matter if the
it's still weighing the entire fucking thing?
It does. It does.
In the outside
that's why
air
I have a subsequent video that I'm going to do that explains that video. It does. It does matter.
Oh, and there we have another bone hit. So...
But it doesn't necessarily. It's more to do with fluid dynamics and gravity.
So yeah, watch. I know that's exactly what he's going to do. I've seen this movie too.
Now, there is one thing
more to do with static weight, which is most certainly
you got to put the scale inside the. You got to have the scale inside.
One thing I do know is I'm definitely stupider after using bongs.
Oh yeah, you're probably stupider after watching one of my videos for a while.
Not as stupid after taking large bong hits like he does several times during his live streams. Crying out loud.
Yeah, it's funny I mentioned that because we're a while on 3 hours and this one ended, so it's good. we made it. We survived to the end of this brainless apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Apocalypse.
A crock of shit.
That's it.
Yeah, I had to try to come up with something there, you know.
crock of shit. Oh Jesus!
You
Could you
have
imagine the
anything?
crock pot? Could you imagine a crock pot full of shit just sitting there
Oh, that
warming
just
all
came
day
from
long?
this stream. If it just came from this stream, oh yeah, man, I could fill one up quickly. Huge, 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 huge pot.
Oh. Oh, the
Anyway, you have
smell of it.
anything to say as we head off?
No, not much, because what is there to say, really? I mean, if you have half a brain, you can understand that him and her are completely wrong. And it's just like smooth brain central in with those two. I mean, how can you continue being so stupid
Oh, they
constantly?
continue. I've got another 2 hours of this I was going to show you guys.
Jesus Christ.
They could continue being dumb for a very long time. Apparently, like I've seen them do up to like 7 to 10 hours of stupidity.
What?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, 7
And
to 10
and
hours of bashing your head against the wall. And
how
unfortunately,
how
I guess I could say I've watched 7 to 10 hours of bashing my head against the wall.
how many viewers does he get for that sort of thing?
Oh, I don't know. He gets quite a few viewers, like 60, 70 viewers or something like. Well, he gets
Jesus.
less. Okay, well, let me correct that. He gets about 30, 40 viewers, but he gets about 60 or 70 just about every time I go up there to whip his butt. And I'm sure that's because all of them are running around trying to get somebody to help defend him.
Yeah, an impossible task, just like educating him. I'm sure his teachers always were, oh no, he's here today. Can't you ever be sick?
But yeah, this one it ends up getting great. We end up getting into a little more. I end up getting a little more boisterous because I get tired of him cutting me off, and I just start talking over his. I just start talking over him. I had to censor myself there. But so and it ends up cutting. He ends up dropping me backstage for a while, and I guess it was like 8 or 10 minutes. He dropped me backstage, and then brought me back up, and then at one point at the end there, just before the end of the stream, when I was actually waiting, like, when are we ever going to end this thing? It's just now you and I. I'm not going to kiss you goodnight. Let's just go ahead and we can call this one a night, but he continued to poke little stupid questions, and of course I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to leave no answer there. If you're going to ask a stupid question, I'm going to answer that you're stupid, without saying that you're stupid. I have a very nice way of I have a
Ask
very nice
stupid
way of,
questions, get stupid answers.
and he ends up kicking me off, but I don't think he banned me because I don't know. I think he realizes now that banning me is pretty
Redundant.
yeah, it's pretty futile because I have other accounts. I'll just pop up with that other account, and then you'll look like a real fool.
Oh yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, like he needs help with that.
Oh yeah, no. He wakes up in the morning and brushes his teeth with full paste.
Oh, he brushes his teeth now, does he? I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah. He uses full paste, and then he washes his then he combs his hair with a dumb comb. Yep.
Does he use a flat toothbrush?
I'm not sure, but every once in a while he gets one of those stupid stash combs and he combs out his stupid stash. Yeah, see, I don't do these type of things when I'm in the debate because it doesn't help any. It doesn't help your argument at all to keep calling somebody stupid or dumb or tell them they're wrong. If you notice, I
No,
never said he was wrong.
You have to take the high road in these things. Otherwise, you are just dropping yourself down to their level, and that's quite a distance to drop. I mean, that's like jumping off the ISS and then landing in the Marianas Trench.
Well, that's what happens with Dreamy. I'll be honest. When Dreamy asks me questions, my brain seems to completely shut down because it was on a level. It was so discombobulated. The questions that she asked are so discombobulated that I'm not exactly sure which direction to go to answer or even exactly what she's asking until later. I watch it maybe twice while editing and I'm listening to mainly Sovereign Soul, and then I realize, oh, That's what she was trying to say. Well, to reword it a little bit so somebody can understand the mush that's coming out. You know what I mean? And it's absolute. It's just mush.
Oh,
With her,
yeah,
it's
no, I
just
mean,
mush. Now, I have made wrong statements, and she has correctly called me out on the wrong statements. And one of those would be that okay, so I was always taught, it's first how I was taught, and I understand my flaw there. I was always taught that Gallus domesticus is the animal, such as like human. I'll break it down that way. And that the females, some were called chickens, those were for cooking, and some were called hens, those were for laying eggs, such as little girls and women. Good scenario along with the human. And
okay,
that the other ones were called roosters.
yeah,
But I guess with a technicality, the Gallus domesticus is a description of chicken. Both are
um,
the same. Both are the same. Just one's a different word to describe the same thing. And the
yeah,
females are hens and the males are roosters. And it took me reading the description several times to realize that that's really how it's not that the female chickens that you eat aren't hens, they're still hens. It was broken down too far as I was taught it when I was a kid.
yeah. That sort of thing can be confusing. I watch Gutsick Gibbon, and she goes into an awful lot of the
I'm not
family
sure on that
trees, and
one.
she's quite good at what she does, and she's into archaeology and genealogy and all that sort of thing, and she definitely goes after people like Kent Hovind and Ken Ham and young Earth creationists and stuff. But she goes into um, the the family tree of animals and what they're called, philae and family and this, that, and the other, and you're looking at it going, "Hey, what?" And I don't understand it all. I've learned because I did when I was a kid go down to the country and had quite a bit of experience on farms and was taught by farmers what the difference is between these animals and why they're some are called this and some are called that and the others are called these. Now I've forgotten half of them, but I know generally what they are. Like a chicken, you got your hen and your rooster, and you've got the cow, and you've got the bull, and they're bovines. And then you've got horses are different because you've got geldings and you've got this and that's and the others, and it all depends on whether they've been neutered or whatever they are. And you're going, huh? Why so many words for a horse? And whether they're still able to create other horses with other horses or not. I never really understood that, and so I've forgotten half those names because I never had a horse and wasn't really that interested in horses, to be honest. But I've remembered the other ones from hens and roosters and cows and bulls. But to be perfectly honest, I'll still call a cockerel a hen. Because why not? I mean, it's still the same animal. It's a chicken, right? But
Okay.
how am I supposed to know if it's a male chicken or not? Okay, yeah, there are some differences sometimes, but sometimes you're not able to tell. And I am a city yokel, or I'm a city boy, so yeah, I'm going to get it wrong. And who
Well, yeah, you
cares?
just asked how do you tell a rooster, which definitely tells me you're most certainly a slicker.
That's it. I'm a city slicker, right? Now, yeah, I can tell. Now, yeah, I could probably tell quite easily when I go down the country again and start looking properly. But do you think I really give a shit? No.
Now, Lisa,
So
as far as him denying he banned me, that's impossible at this point for him to deny, and that's because after I air the rest of this, the second part of it, He clearly tells me that he'll ban me again if I don't stop doing this again. Again, meaning that there was a time before. So if he denies it, then, well, I mean, I guess I don't have to point out that he's a liar, because that's how we started this little game, pointing out that he was a liar.
Yeah, that's well known by everybody. He's a liar. Just he breathes in and he's lying.
Okay, I'm grabbing the space controls here, and we're bringing this penguin ship to a landing.
Do you know, that's probably a good idea because it's quite late here, and I want to go for a cigarette.
As always, you guys are awesome. Remember, you don't have to be wise. Just don't submit to stupid. Thank you very
Definitely
much.
don't submit to scum.
And have a good day. Wait, but I like Scum. It's a great game.
I mean SSUM. Sorry. I call